It is a Thursday. It would be great if the Commanders pay Terry McLaurin today. Just make life a lot easier for all of us. I'm not anticipating that it will happen, but it would be great nonetheless. The boys back out at practice in pads today. A bunch of fans out there as well. They moved practice up an hour because of the heat. People still pack it. It's great to see. I'm going to be at practice on Saturday. I haven't been able to be out there all week. I will be out there on Saturday. I just got to get there early because I don't know. I'm sure you've seen this, Max. Loudoun County Parkway is jammed.
It is
when people are getting into practice.
It looks like hell.
And when the fans are there and the media are there, the media basically just has to beat the fans to the parking lot. Like we kind of all park in the same spot. I get to skip the line because I got the press pass, but I got to still park with everybody else. I'm excited, though. I'm excited to see them. I'm hoping that they're going to be in pads on Saturday. They were in pads once before Wednesday. Wednesday was the day off. They're back in pads today. It's been physical out there from what I am reading all over social media. So I'm hoping that they're going to get to be in pads again on Saturday. Saturday is going to be the first time that I will be out there where I get to watch the entirety of practice because normally practice starts at 9. I wrap up downstairs at 9, and then I sprint legally at perfectly legal speeds from DC to Ashburn, get there usually around like 9:45, 10-ish or so, and watch like the final 30 minutes. But they go a little bit longer when they're in pads and not just the shells. I'm excited about practice on Saturday, nevertheless. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show with Denton Day sitting in for Kevin here on the Team 980. John Bates is going to join us at 11 a.m. after practice is done in Ashburn. He's going to be calling in. I'm really excited to get on the phone with him. He had a good year last year, and the team had a good year last year. He has obviously been here for a number of years. He signed an extension back in March that will keep him here for at least another 2 to 3 years. So I'm excited to see how practice is going for him and how the energy is out there compared to this time last year and then maybe compared to in years prior. So John Bates will be with us at 11. Dan Quinn spoke this morning. You will hear some of what he said throughout the course of today's show, and I believe Jayden Daniels is scheduled to speak after practice today. So you will hear from Jayden Daniels at the podium on today's program as well. It is also the MLB trade deadline. Nats made a couple of moves. The big one was late last night. Not the massive one, but the bigger one of the two was late last night. They sent Mike Soroka to the Chicago Cubs. So Soroka had been here for a little bit. Not awful this year by any stretch, but also not great. It's kind of hard to look at Nationals pitchers based off of their record and really get a good feel for how they have been pitching just because the offense has been so hit and miss, pun intended. It's been so hit and miss for a majority of the season where sometimes those win-loss records don't fully reflect everything that is a pitcher on the mound. So Soroka is gone. Nats get a couple of prospects back with controllable prospects, as they call it in baseball. They get those back from Chicago. We'll touch a little bit more on that. But look, it's football season is here, so we're starting with some more football. I want Terry to get paid today because, to be completely honest, and Max, I'm sure you feel the same way, kind of done talking about it. We have to talk about it. It is our job. There are ways that we have to do things in this profession. But I'd really like we're at the point where we're not getting a ton of information, yet it is still the biggest storyline in not a dark cloud, because I don't think it's negative wanting your second best player to get paid, but it is becoming a cloud that is just kind of looming over training camp. We've seen Terry out there. I'm curious as to whether or not he will be out there again today to sign autographs because fans are out there. But we've seen Terry out there. It hasn't gotten to the point, I don't think, where it's this massive distraction. Team kind of understands what's going on. Terry obviously understands what's going on. The players have been nothing but supportive of Terry through this process. It has been very fun is not the right word because social media is kind of scary at times, but there is a subject of the fan base that is taking the Terry holdout exceptionally personally And the fact that he has an ankle injury that we don't know what the ankle injury is, it feels to me like that's one of those things where I'm not going to practice until I get a deal done. And the team is like, we kind of get it. Just do this ankle stuff, get some treatment, whatever. It feels more like that to me, but there's some people that are really offended by this. And if he's not out there, they should get rid of him. I think that's laughable. On the flip side, there are some people that think he should get paid DK money. And I think that's laughable as well. I tried to get to something yesterday and I did not get to it. So I'm going to get to it today. And Max, you sent me this yesterday as you're doing a good producer's job. You're like, hey, dummy, don't forget about this. So this was an article that was written by Tony Pauline. Tony Pauline has some information on the Terry stuff. This comes from sportskita.com. So take it with whatever pinch of salt that you decide to. But Pauline has been in the business for a while. I believe that he does have some real inside info, even if Sportskita is not my most favorite sport reporting site in the world. But he wrote about this Terry McLaurin contract, and he said in an article, this was published 2 days ago, he said in an article, people I've spoken with tell me that they expect a deal to get done sooner rather than later, that though it's not going to be a huge contract, I'm told to expect a 2 to 3 year extension for McLaurin with a bump in pay this season to give him a bit more security. It continued saying, sources tell me they believe the Commanders will offer a deal with an annual payout slightly higher than one received by Sutton. The holdup would be that McLaurin demanding more than $30 million annually. People tell me they don't feel the franchise would be willing to go that high for Terry McLaurin. This is from Tony Pauline of Sportskita. It's kind of where we've been at for the last couple of days on this particular contract and this particular topic, whereas it feels like $30 million is the absolute highest they are going to go. I would have loved 31 a couple of weeks ago. In fact, I said on multiple platforms, filling in for Kevin on this show, filling in and doing some YouTube stuff, which if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you are. At the Team 980, you can watch us so you can see my face with all of the makeup that I did. You can see Craig Hoffman as well. And I do some YouTube stuff on the side there, right? So I kind of thought that $32 million, $31 million would be fair for Terry. As we've got more information, and then with the Courtland Sutton contract, it seems like that annual payout is going to be lower. The kicker in this for me that I hadn't really put a ton of thought into, admittedly, was a 2 or 3 year deal. My thought process for Terry has always been it'll be a 3 or a 4 year deal. And I'd be very worried if the representation for Terry would be willing to take a 2 year deal over a 3 year deal, because my stance has always been the same. No matter what the annual value is, it could get to 30, maybe it's 25, hopefully more than 25. I think 25 is lowballing him. But if it's in that neighborhood of like 27 to 28 with higher guarantees than some of the other guys that have higher AAVs, average annual value in most instances is more about pride of a player than anything. The guarantees are what we should be focusing on the most. So they should bump up the guarantees for Terry's contract. Like the AAV is if you hit all of your incentives, and some of the incentives are going to be crazy, crazy high. Things like 1,500 yards, things like X amount of touchdowns, stuff that Zach Ertz was really capitalizing on at the end of last year. It felt like every single game for the final 3, Zach Ertz would have had, like, if he had 60 yards, he would hit some certain mark that would give him an extra like $750,000. So when you talk about AAV, a lot of that is like incentive laden, and you have to hit those incentives. If you're smart, you want higher guaranteed more than you want higher AAV. And I would hope that that is what the Terry camp, my hope is that that is what the pause is right now, that they're on two opposite sides, or they're a little bit further apart than they would like to be when it comes to the full guaranteed money. If the Commanders are offering him a lot of guaranteed money, but he is more concerned, or the representation for Terry is more concerned with the AAV, that's a problem, because that AAV is not going to get to a point where it is like for DK, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, pick your poison. The AAV is not going to get to over $30 million. Now, if they're far apart on guaranteed money, you're siding with Terry in this. If the team is like, we'll give you a crazy AAV, but your guarantees are going to be like rock bottom low, no, you're going to hold out. You're going to continue and hold out. You want the high guarantees. So I hope that's where they're coming from with this. But the 2 years versus the 3 years versus the 4 years, that is pretty drastic to me, because throughout all of this, whatever Terry gets from Washington this year is going to be the most that he gets, right? There is not a team out there that is going to give him more than what Washington is going to give him this year, and they certainly will not give him more than that after this year. Like, if he just plays this contract out at a wide receiver who's 30 years old going into age 31, no one is going to give him $30 million. So I'm hoping there's a realization that, all right, we know that this is going to be probably the last really significant deal. We're going to try and maximize it as much as we can. And in that, I'm in favor with the player. Maximize that to every extent of your ability. This career is finite. You should go and squeeze everything out of the organizations. But you just do have to take a realistic approach to that. If you want 33 and they're like, we'll give you 28, 28 might be your limit, because there's not going to be anyone that's going to say, they're going to give you 28, we'll give you 31. I got in an argument yesterday with a guy on Twitter, and he was trying to convince me that teams like Baltimore, Kansas City, and Buffalo would pay $30 million for Terry right now. And it's an asinine take. It's an asinine take, because I did the research. Kansas City moved on from prime Tyreek Hill when Tyreek Hill wanted to get paid. He wanted like $25 million. He wanted Devontae Adams money. He wanted like $25 million. Devontae got 29. They said, nope, we're good. We're going to trade you. He goes to Miami. Miami gives him 26. But what happened after that was that Kansas City never really replaced Tyreek Hill. They said, we trust what we have in our infrastructure as a team with great defense, because at that point they had transitioned to being a very, very good defensive team. The first couple Super Bowl years, Kansas City was not great on defense. It was their offense that was crazy, because you had prime Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and then a mix of running backs that were all very, very productive. They decided, we're going to move on from Tyreek Hill. But then what they did after that was that they never paid wide receivers any sort of significant value. The highest wide receiver they have paid in 1 year, in 1 year since losing Tyreek Hill, they paid MVS, Valdez Scantling, $10 million. And that was the year where he dropped everything under the sun. And they've never, the most they've ever given a wide receiver outside of him since losing Tyreek Hill was like $4 million per year, bro. Kansas City ain't paying 30 for Terry. Baltimore, you know who the most, since 2022, that's kind of around like that Tyreek Hill thing. Max, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm going to give you some trivia.
Uh-oh.
Would you like to guess who the highest paid, in terms of just like a 1 year salary, who the highest paid, not counting this particular season, who the highest paid wide receiver has been for Baltimore since 2022?
Rashad Bateman.
Odell Beckham Jr. Rashad Bateman would top it this year, but Odell Beckham Jr. got like $4.5 million from Baltimore that 1 year that he was there in Baltimore.
I forgot about that.
They don't spend on receivers. Like, all the teams that are up there do not spend on wide receivers. And that's not to suggest that Washington should take that approach. To be completely honest, I hate that approach. That's why I want them to pay Terry. Like that bit that I do on social media, which if you're not following me at the Denton Day, that bit that I do on social media is not just for like kicks and giggles. I really do want Terry to be here. The best opportunity for Washington to get just a little bit further than they got in 2024 is with Terry on the roster, bar none. But you can't put yourself in a position as a general manager in Adam Peters where you are overpaying because of that. You can't make a drastic overpayment to a guy because of that. This is why you hire nerds, analytic people, all of those things, right? There's not a lot of teams out there that, if Washington is not going to give Terry $30 million or, God forbid, the DK money, there aren't a lot of teams out there that will. Even if Pittsburgh wanted to trade for him, which I never really believed, but even if Pittsburgh wanted to trade for him, they're not giving him that extension. Most of the teams who, if they do want to trade for Terry at this point, it would be a 1 year rental, and then he'd get like a 3 year, $22 million contract going into his age 31 season if he stays with that particular team. His best deal is and always will be in Washington, and I really hope that they're going to avoid a 2 year deal, because a 2 year deal, I think, really shoots him in the foot a little bit. There's betting on yourself, but then there is this realization of what the market is, and what the market is particularly for receivers that would be of his age. He might be able to reset the market for 30-year-olds or at least get really, really close to it, because Tyreek Hill, who is 30, and he's going to be getting paid $30 million a year this year, he signed that when he was 28. So he's a little bit younger than Terry, and Tyreek Hill's game is almost exclusively based off of speed, which I think is going to take a little bit of a drop as he gets older. He's also just not like a great human being off of the field, allegedly. So Terry has him in the great human being thing, but outside of Tyreek Hill, there's no 30-year-old that's getting $30 million per year. It's not. Whatever Terry gets would be the highest amount for a guy signing right before he turns 30. So maybe he resets the market in that particular. But I think there's a lot of people in the fan base that have really gotten trapped in this idea that $30 million is the standard. That is market value, when it's really not, because you're comparing second contracts to third contracts, and the third contract is always going to be smaller than the second contract, or at least usually is going to be smaller than a second contract. But market value for a third contract is way smaller than it is for a second contract. And that's why we're having these debates, because Terry's third contract will, in fact, be bigger than his second contract, but the market value for that is going to be smaller. He's not going to be getting paid like these dudes who are getting paid second contracts. He's not getting your 31. He's not getting the A.J. Brown money, that DK money, that Amon-Ra St. Brown money, because all of these guys are on contract too. Although A.J. Brown's kind of weird because he gets upset every 6 months, and Philadelphia just kind of bends the knee to him, which is their prerogative. I don't really care. Eventually, though, I kind of think A.J. Brown is in his last year here in Philadelphia. I don't even know. Maybe he doesn't even make it the entire way, because he really does just start complaining every 6 months. I mentioned the trade element of Terry McLaurin. When we get back, you'll hear an NFL insider weighing in on the potential of Washington making a move for Terry McLaurin. Scott Jackson will be with us at 10:35. John Bates is with us at 11. You will hear Jayden Daniels. He's speaking at the podium now. You will hear from him after we have John Bates on the show. A lot to come your way over the next 3 hours here. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show with Dende sitting in for Kevin on the Team 980. is the Kevin Sheehan Show. Denton Day sitting in for Kevin at the Denton Day on Twitter. John Bates in 40 minutes here on the show, calling in from Ashburn after practice. Scott Jackson will join us in 10 minutes to talk Commanders. Terry is back out there signing autographs for players. I sent a text to see if the agent was out there too, Max. And from what I am gathering from my sources out there in Ashburn, it's just Terry. So the agent isn't just kind of looming there.
Interesting.
Which makes sense.
He's not hanging out in the end zone like he has been.
Not hanging out in the end zone. You know, I'm really curious to know, not that it's my business, but I'm curious to know like what he talks like. The agent.
Buddy Baker?
Yeah. I feel like you'd learn a lot about him from how he speaks.
Yeah.
Agents are fascinating human beings.
They are. Did you watch what I sent you yesterday?
I have not, but I could tell by the it's going to sound terrible. They market people. I'm going to say it like that.
Sure. Yeah.
They market people and get them massive deals, but like they're a fascinating group of people.
Very interesting humans.
Some of us here have agents. I do not have an agent. I have talked with agents before, though, and the ones that I've talked with are relatively normal, which is good. But at like the higher up the podium that you go, when people have experience with massive deals, they are a little bit like quirkier.
More eclectic?
More eclectic is probably a better word than quirky. So I just want to know like what Buddy Baker sounds like.
I do too.
Because there has been like a little bit of an unfair narrative to an extent painted about him as if he is just like this nightmare. I don't know that like it could be true. I have no idea. The thing is, we don't really know. We know that he set up the Eastern Automotives thing, and that did not work very well. We know that he's just kind of around practice. But the problem is we don't know what the holdup is with the contract, and we give Adam Peters the benefit of the doubt. He's earned, I would say, the benefit of the doubt when it comes to not leaking information. Everything is held to a tight vest, so we've just naturally assumed that every piece of information that has been leaked has been from the agent. I don't necessarily know that to be the case. It feels plausible that it's the case, but I don't know that with 100% certainty that it is the agent leaking all these bits of information, or that all of a sudden certain information was coming out, but then the Schefter on DK money was actually out of Peter. Like, it's kind of convoluted and sometimes playing the guessing game. It's really just assuming, and you know what they say about assuming, Max. You make a butt out of you and me. So
it's true.
I just want to hear what this guy talks like, just to get a better idea.
I've found an interview he did with Fox 59. I don't know where that is, but it's Buddy Baker sounds like if you walked into any car dealership in northern Jersey, you would be buying a car from him. That's how he sounds.
So Fox 59 is in Indianapolis.
Shout out.
Which is the area in which Terry is from. I don't know if he is also from that area, but if you're saying he sounds like he got the New Jersey accent,
yep,
he probably is not from that area. So we were talking about the potential of a trade, and Terry McLaurin has not asked for a trade. He has not demanded a trade. I am of the belief he has not done so because he realizes that his best contract is going to come in Washington. If he does get traded, it's going to be a one-year rental situation, and then you're going to be a 31-year-old full free agent wide receiver, and you'll have the open market, but you're not going to get a better deal at 31 than you are at 30, no matter how good you play in your age 30 season. It's just the unfortunate nature of what the NFL is. It's an ageist league. They fall in love with the younger guys because they feel like there's more talent there and there's more opportunity to kind of develop, control. What we use control in baseball, we don't use as much in the NFL, but like you're not signing a 4 or 5 year deal at the age of 31. So it gets kind of delicate there if he were to get traded and then he'd be a 1 year rental. However, that has not stopped that conversation from existing. Diana Rossini, who works for The Athletic, she's been on this show a number of different times throughout the course of the year. She spoke on her podcast about teams inquiring with Washington about trading for Terry McLaurin.
So look, this is the first real big deal for Adam Peters. So I am curious to see how they hammer this out, but I can tell you they're not trading him. That's not on the table at this moment. Teams have inquired over the last few months, and they've all been told no. So this gets done. I just don't know who's going to walk away from this one feeling like they won. I'm not sure at this point.
So here's there's a massive problem with what she just said. There's some positive and there is some negative. The positive is that Washington is not going to trade him. Terry gives this organization the best opportunity to be successful in 2025. What she said at the end there is where the problems start to seep in a little bit. And this is where things can get really sideways really quickly. The concept of winning the negotiation is very dangerous. Very dangerous, because the objective should not be for one side to win and the other side to lose. This is like relationship 101. Whether this is a personal relationship, it is a friendship, this could be used for significant others, and this can be used in this particular instance in football. If you're trying to win a relationship, that relationship is doomed. This negotiation, if you're trying to win it, it is doomed. You need to be able to, as the two sides, come together and come to an equal and even agreement, which would therefore have everybody happy leaving it. If one side wins, that means the other side is going to look at itself as a loser, and therefore they are not going to walk away happy from the agreement. Because I don't know about you, Max, I don't like losing. I'm going to guess that Terry doesn't like losing. So you can't walk away from a quote-unquote loss at the negotiation table and still feel good about yourself walking into 2025. It's borderline impossible. If that's the objective here, this is gone to a place now where it's a little too far gone, I would say. If you're trying to win and lose, and I don't think that Adam Peters is attempting to win and lose. There might be an element of that with the agent in Terry's camp. I am fully of the belief that Terry wants to be here. I think that's why he is constantly going out there and signing autographs, because now at day number 4 of doing this, it does feel like it's a little bit less of just a PR move, and he actually wants to be out there. Like the first day was he came back to stop getting fined and to make like this grandiose entrance, and he did that. He was out there. Fans were chanting his name. Jayden Daniels stopped a SportsCenter hit to encourage fans to chant his name. Bobby Wagner was getting hype when he was walking back up, and he sees Terry coming down. Like, all of the players were excited to see Terry there. That first day, you could argue big-time PR movement and big-time PR swing in the favor of Camp McLaurin. Now I don't really think it is that. I think he just wants to be out there. So, like, the longer this goes on, the more frustrating it becomes, because we're not getting a lot of information that is new, and it feels like this isn't going a lot of places, although sometimes you could argue that the best work is done silently. Real G's move in silence, like my designer. Shout out to Lil Wayne. So it could be doing something like that. However, the longer this goes, I see Terry itching for it. I see him itching to get back onto the field, because he is smart enough to realize that last year was something special, and this year could very much be even better, but he needs to be a part of it, because it's not going to be better if he is not a part of that. There is no world in 2025 where Washington is a better football team without Terry out there. They need a couple of other guys to step up, and I found this quote really interesting on the defensive side that I want to play for you. So Daron Payne is a guy that we have had, we will say, our struggles with, if you really pay attention to box scores and statistics, because since he got his contract, the box scores and the statistics have not been very kind to Daron Payne, and there has been this feel amongst the fan base, myself included, that this upcoming offseason, Daron Payne could get the John Allen treatment. Well, Daron Payne sat down with Scott Abraham. This was with Scott Abraham, yeah? Yeah, it was Scott Abraham.
Yep.
It was with Scott Abraham of ABC 7, and I find this to be a fascinating point from Daron Payne here.
Personally, this is a big year for you. This is a contract year. This is your so-called final year right now in Washington. How are you approaching this?
Shoot, man, I'm just playing ball. Right now, I'm at the point in my career where I'm just having fun. Like, everything I do is fun to me. Like, working hard, being out here in the sun, playing with these guys is fun. So just grinding.
You bring up a good point. How's that mindset changed? Maybe 3-4 years ago, you might be worried about the contract, what kind of money you're getting. But now you just mentioned, I just focus on ball and having fun.
Yeah, man, I got all the money I want. I'm really just trying to, like, man, we was in a good place last year, and I want to be like the reason. I want to be one of the reasons we make it far again, and one of the reasons we get to the Super Bowl. You know, I want to.
I love that from Deron Payne.
Don't need money.
I got all the money I need. I just want to be here as a part of something special. It would be unfair to take what he said and directly apply that to Terry in this situation. I don't think that is something that you can do directly, because Terry is playing at a higher level right now than Deron Payne is. Deron Payne got that contract. It was a massive contract. Struggled in terms of those sack numbers. I mean, he was playing with his ass on fire in that contract year. They rewarded him with it. Everyone in the league that I spoke to and that got in front of any sort of microphone or got those Twitter fingers firing told you that Washington signed a bad deal with Deron Payne. But I do feel like I feel like Deron has been way more positive in the culture that is being built in Washington than many people are led to believe.
Very much.
Because from an outside perspective, it always felt like John was this culture guy. And not to say that he wasn't, but it always felt like John was the culture guy. He was the one giving the pregame speeches. He was the one giving the postgame, clips when things didn't go well. I'm tired of losing, cussing up a storm. This sucks, yada, yada, yada. Deron is not as, I don't think, talkative and out there, as extroverted as a guy like John Allen is, but I do think that he kind of flies under the radar when it comes to the building of the culture. People just kind of look past it because he has this massive contract, and statistically, because he had 11.5 sacks in that contract year, and he has not, I don't even know if he's had 11.5 sacks in the 3 years since that contract year, to be honest.
I think so.
If he does, it's like really, really close. But I feel like he has been a really crucial part. His mindset and watching him develop and mature just as a man has been really impressive to watch. I do kind of hope that he is around next year, albeit on a lower contract. I would imagine if they do bring him back, it'll be something a little bit smaller than the Javon Kinlaw contract. But it was very nice for him to sit there and say, I don't really need the money right now. I just want to be a part of something special. He was obviously part of those Alabama teams in college football where they were constantly deep in postseason runs and competing for championships. I think he wants that. I think he wants that here. And I got to be honest, Deron Payne and I agree with that. He wants that here. I want that here. So I love that from Deron Payne. Scott Jackson's going to be with us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on what Washington's offseason has looked like. Is a Terry McLaurin contract around the horizon. And then at 11 a.m., 25 minutes from now, John Bates calling from Ashburn after practice today. Excited to have the Commanders tight end with us. You don't want to miss it. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show with Dende sitting in for Kevin here on the Team 980.
All right, here's what's happening on this Thursday, July 31st. Gilbert Arenas was arrested last night in connection with an illegal high-stakes poker game that were being hosted at a mansion rented by the Wizards legend. Arenas was booked along with 4 others, including Marcus Morris and suspected members of the Israeli mob. Arenas posted a video to social media last night captioned, "I'm back on the streets. This ain't got bleep to do with me. Just rented the house. Wasn't a part." Meanwhile, one of the most coveted bats in baseball right now is on the move as Eugenio Suarez was traded to the Mariners late last night. This marks the second deal between the Mariners and Diamondbacks after Arizona shipped first baseman Josh Naylor up to Seattle less than 1 week ago. In the NFL, Noah Fant signs with the Bengals. He joins the tight end room with Mike Gesicki and Tanner Hudson in an already loaded Bengals offense. Michael Phelps is teaching the Ravens how to swim. Cornerback Marlon Humphrey posted a video to social media last night asking Phelps for his help, after the stat was reported 1 in 3 Ravens players cannot swim. Phelps responded, "I got y'all." And now he is en route. The Nats, they fall to the Astros by a score of 9-1. Mackenzie Gore falls to 4-11 after giving up 8 hits and 6. Kevin Sheehan is live from 10-1. And Craig Hoffman from 4-7. Don't forget to like the streams and turn on notifications to stay up to date on
It's the Kevin Sheehan Show. Denton Day sitting in for Kevin here on the team 980. Commanders tight end John Bates in 20 minutes here on the show, calling after practice. That's a conversation you do not want to miss. You don't want to miss this next conversation either. We go out to the phones. Our guy Scott Jackson, you can hear him down in the 757 on ESPN Radio 94.1 afternoons from 3 to 7. He also hosts the Believe in Commanders podcast with our guy Anthony Armstrong. Scott, what's up, my friend? How are you?
Good to hear from you, Denton. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Before we get to the Terry stuff, some of your general takeaways from the offseason training camp to this point so far for Washington.
Well, they've obviously, hit a big need with, I thought, with getting the left tackle position and the addition of Connerly at right tackle. If that's eventually where he is, and he's probably your heir apparent at left tackle. I like that part of it. Protect your most valuable asset. Jayden Daniels, and then the trickle-down effect, obviously, is moving Coleman to guard. So I did like that. The Debo thing, man, I'm intrigued by it with the way Cliff Kingsbury runs this offense and the way he could fit. And obviously, he's clearly motivated and, in the right type of physical condition that he needs to be in right now, from a health standpoint and from a training standpoint. So I think that's been interesting. And, just a lot of questions about, Lattimore, is the biggest question to me on defense, what they're going to get from him, because it could change everything if he's anywhere near where he was a few years back before all these, hamstring injuries kept slowing him down. Could be huge. I'm fascinated to see if they can generate a pass rush on the regular. I mean, they got the quarterback pretty good last year, but it doesn't seem obvious outside of the addition of Miller, and we don't know how much he has left in the tank at this point. And can they obviously stop the run? I mean, that's what they have to do more than anything this year. So those are my general impressions. I think they hit a lot of the need areas, but there's still, to me, a lot of the questions remained on the defensive side of the ball.
On that defensive side, obviously Von Miller comes in, as you mentioned. What is your level of confidence in the guy that was here last year, one of the only guys that got a multi-year deal last year? Dorrance Armstrong, I thought he played well at the end of the year. Do you have any confidence in him being able to make that consistent throughout the entire year this upcoming?
Yeah, I don't know if he's a guy you're going to say, hey, he's going to go get 10 sacks or whatever. But I do think there's a consistency level with Armstrong, which I like. So I think that's good. It's just like, what are you going to find on the other side, right? And this is this interesting thing with how they're going to use Kenlaw. I'm still, like a lot of people, I think it was a surprise how much money he got, based off of what he had done to this point. Obviously, Adam Peters knows him well. Obviously that should that should make you feel a little bit better about it. That they have a history with one another, so he knew what he was buying when he did it. But yeah, I mean, I think the Armstrong thing, just really the overall front is interesting. How all the pieces are going to fit and where they're going to be, and nobody saw the Fowler season, right? And that happened. So you're hoping there's somebody that's going to surprise you with that kind of year. And the interesting part about Fowler was, as well as he played, all he could find out there was another one-year show-me deal on the market.
Yeah, I did find, and I remember him getting a little upset that deal wasn't here, but that's neither here nor there. Does Terry sign before the first preseason game next Friday?
Ooh, I don't know about that. I think to me, I've always said, if this isn't, it was more about like, my guesstimation, all this was middle of camp, towards the latter part of camp, maybe after the second preseason game, maybe more around that third preseason game, just so he would have, 2 weeks in the field, assuming he continues to play this out this long, and I don't know what the level of blink is in him and his side, because at some point he's going to play. I mean, if they even said to him, hey, we're not going to do this year, what's he going to do? Sit out and pass up $15 million? I don't think so. I just don't see that. I don't see that being feasible for him at all. But I don't have a great feeling that it's just around the corner either. I mean, from all the things we've heard to this point, it just doesn't seem like they're very close at this juncture. So I think like it has in a lot of places, this is going to probably drag out for a little bit longer.
So Sutton and Denver got $23 million. We got that report earlier this week from Schefter that Terry might be searching for $33 million. I would imagine the fair price is somewhere in the middle, but what is the number is there a number that you are keyed in on?
Well, I think the 30 is probably, on average, what it would probably end up looking like for him to feel like he came away with a win. For the team, it's probably below that. The tough thing is, like, is there a way that both of these parties can walk away saying, hey, we both won, right? Like, there was something in it for both of us here. And, I don't know. I mean, who can save face? And then, the tough thing for him is, the team, they can do the reverse Kirk Cousins here. Like they can use the tag to their help, to help them as well, depending on where that ends up. They could also look at it that way. Yeah, but I don't think that's a healthy thing to do by any means. But it is an option, needless to say, and I'm sure that's part of the haggling that's going on here. I hope they get it done, but I would say it's probably in that area of 28 to 30 that probably is more likely. Although if you look at for what it's worth, right, over the cap, spot rack, they have him as like a $24 million player, $25 million in that range. Not at the 30. So it's more of what the Sutton deal is, or more of what maybe the team is even looking at this point.
How excited are you once he is here to see Terry and Debo on that same offense?
Oh man, that's all, the offseason, just thinking about that's been great. And, the truth of the matter, from his standpoint, as I'm sure he's thinking about it, is, maybe I'm not even if I'm not a $30 million player on the market. I mean, for this franchise, like, what are your options, right? Like, you're going to go into next offseason with two guys, kind of like the Cincinnati situation that you have to deal with. I mean, if Debo does what they think he's going to do, then, well, hell, I mean, you're going to have to pay him, right? So then you're going to have to figure that out with Terry. So that makes it a little bit more challenging. That's why it'd be better to get one of these in right now and it makes more sense to take care of Terry. But I mean, in terms of like Terry being that top off guy, he's not there, which again, I don't think is going to happen. I think he will be there. I mean, who is it? Are you really going to think Jalen Lane in year one is that guy? I mean, I love Jalen Lane, but that seems like an awful heck of a lot to ask from a guy who was picked in the middle of the draft. I mean, that's a pretty big ask. And I know he's been running with the ones lately, but come on. It should open up things for him. We know what Debo can do. He gives them a physicality, that they didn't have. I mean, as good as Zacchaeus was in his role last year, and Diami at times as well, with breaking some of those plays underneath. I mean, this guy just freaking brings a hammer that DBs don't want to deal with.
You talk about Jalen Lane, like you're hoping that you can get him just touches on special teams to start.
Well, I want him to be my punt returner.
Yeah, he's dynamic as hell.
PR1. Yeah. I mean, and maybe your fourth wide receiver. He could be that. But I mean, assuming that Noah Brown is healthy. But I don't. It was just kind of like just the trickle down when you start thinking about it. And I'm sure that's why, Terry's guys probably say, hey, hang back for a little bit longer. Let them watch these ones with Luke McCaffrey and Jalen Lane for a while when they're rotating guys in and see how they feel about it. Because that's what you want them to think about. Now, again, Terry's a good dude. I'm sure this is killing him on the inside, but this is the business of football, and it has been an offseason full of deals getting done at the wide receiver position.
Scott Jackson, my guest here on the Kevin Sheehan Show with Dente sitting in for Kevin. Scott, how impressed have you been with Jayden in this portion of the season?
Well, like I say to people all the time, and a lot of my writer friends get mad when I say this, I think he's great on the podium. They're like, well, he says nothing. I go, exactly. That's what you want your quarterback to do. We had a quarterback here that loved to say everything before, and we have the guy that's the over talker, sharing way too much down the former quarterback as well in Atlanta now. I mean, watching quarterback, I couldn't believe the amount of crap this guy, reveals. Like, just shut up. Nobody needs to know this. We don't need to know your innermost dark fears. We don't need all this crap. You got to be cool, calm, and collected. You got to be like Mahomes and Burrow, and Jackson. You got to project confidence. And I'm sure these guys aren't always fully confident in everything. But you got to show that to your team, and he just does that, and he answers it the right way, and he does put thought into the answers. And, again, just hearing all these stories about him with this VR stuff and what he does and, going through everything multiple times, the Peyton Manning comparisons in prep, it's just you got to kind of pinch yourself sometimes because you think about the list of quarterbacks there's been here over the last several decades, especially the Snyder era. It makes you want to throw up. It's like you can't win that way, but you can win with this dude. I mean, there's no question you can win with this.
At least to this point in the season. Scott Jackson with us here at Jackson Sports on Twitter, where you can find him 3 to 7 in the 757 on ESPN Radio 94.1 one. How excited are you to see? So you mentioned some of the guys in the defensive backfield, Marshawn Lattimore potentially getting healthy. I think Mikey's had a great training camp so far. What are you anticipating that week one defensive back rotation is going to look like?
So you're going to have Lattimore out there. It sure seems like Trey Amos is ready, right? I mean, just hearing all this stuff in the early going, and we'll get to see it. I think a better feel for all these guys when you get to New England next week and you see and hear what's going on out of those practices, and maybe a little bit in the preseason games. I don't know how much we can expect from the real ones, throughout the 3 preseason games, especially these banked in, practices against the Patriots and obviously the Ravens as well. But I think, in terms of corners, that's what probably you're looking at. Jonathan Jones in there too. And like Igbenogany, I was talking to somebody the other day that he's had a very good camp quietly. He's not getting the headlines, obviously, that Trey Amos is getting and Mikey Sanders-Field. But I think, you look at him as well as still being in the mix there. Safety's interesting with Martin. Is Will Harris going to be able to fill in and seamlessly for Chin, who, had some good and bad. I think he got a good deal with the Raiders. I don't blame them for not getting, keeping him at that number. But that's the one that's a little fascinating. It does seem like some of these safety players are interchangeable, and where does Tyler Owens fit in? Is he able to push into that, or is he just still on the special team side of it? And Percy Butler too.
How excited are you for week one? To put all of this aside, all right, we're done with it. We're done with the Terry stuff. We're done with all of it. How excited are you to just line this thing up and kind of get back to football?
Oh, very much so. But I'm saying this. I am not taking the Giants for granted by any. I don't think this seems like a layup week one game by any. Not that there are such things in the NFL, but you know what I mean. The Giants games are always a pain in the butt. They are hard games. Usually, even last year, with as wonderful as things are, the second Giants game was a hard win. First one was to 7 field goals. Their front's nasty, right? Their front it could be really, really nasty getting after it. I don't know what they have offensively, but their defense definitely looks to be formidable with the guys they have up front with the pass rushers and the addition of Carter now, and Dexter Lawrence has always been a stud and somebody that they've really had difficulty with these matchups. So that game, week one, this offensive line, I know, they've given, only had a little bit of time with pads so far. This week again, next week, I should say, with New England will be telling. But, you need Tunsil ready, feeling good. You need Brandon Coleman ready. Yadish, you got to be healthy. Wiley, whoever that other guard is, whether it's Algretti or, the fact that they're even keeping the idea of Cosme open kind of shocked me a few weeks ago when I heard that. But anyway, yeah, that week one should be a lot of fun, but I don't think by any means, it's going to be easy. It's going to be a tough football game, and I hope they're ready for it.
Scott, appreciate the time as always, my friend. Always good to catch up. Hope to see you out there at practice one of these days.
Yeah, I'll be up there in a few weeks. Looking forward to it.
That is Scott Jackson. You can find him on Twitter at Jackson Sports. Good enough to jump on with us here on the Kevin Sheehan Show. Coming up next, live from Ashburn, Commanders tight end John Bates. Really excited about this conversation. You don't want to miss it. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show with 10 Days Sitting In. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show. Denton Day sitting in for Kevin here on the Team 980. We are hoping to get John Bates on the show. We had a bit of a scheduling conflict, so he will not be joining us right this instant, but hoping to still get him in before we hand it off at 1 p.m. to Linnell Willingham. It's Kevin Sheehan Show with Denton Day sitting in for Kevin here on the Team 980. There's still a lot to talk about. They were out there in pads today. I was doing my best to follow along with practice, Max, as I'm sure you were. There are a number of beat guys, including our guy Linnell Willingham, who tweet during practice.
Mm-hmm.
But as much as I try and follow along, sometimes it's really difficult. There's a lot of tweets coming.
It's quite hard.
There's a lot of tweets.
A lot of times guys will post like recapping day 5 of a training camp, and I usually just can't I can't get myself up for a recap. It's like it was practice. We did practice again. We hit guys.
We did the practice.
We cut balls.
The thing is, so that they're describing, plays, which is good.
Sure.
But everyone's trying to be quick when they get to Twitter, so they're trying to be the first one out with the play. And it's like such and such tipped the ball. I'm like,
thumbs up.
Okay, how did that look? Did they jump many feet in the air to tip the ball? Was it like a throw that was behind them that was tipped? Like there's a lot of details that end up getting missed. So it is kind of difficult to really get a grip of who is having good practices and who is not if you're not actually there. One of the many reasons why I'm excited to be there on Saturday, because I just want to be out there and I really want them to be in pads so I could see who is having good practices and who is not having good practices. So we are still going to attempt to effort to get John Bates on the show today. That might have to be moved to another day. But Jayden Daniels did speak after practice today. I want you to hear his entire press availability. So this is Jayden after practice, second day in pads.
How we doing? How are you, Jayden? Good. Take your time, Mickey. What are some maybe little things that you're able to do now just because you have that year in the offense and you're just more comfortable with that? What are some little things that you're seeing of yourself on the field because of that?
I would just say more so playing the situation game-like as possible. Like first and second down, try not to take a sack. If it's not there, throw the ball away. Work on the second play. Never know. I might be lucky enough to break a sack one time and keep my eyes downfield and let those guys work. But other than that, always just trying to make as possible.
And do you just even in terms of a leadership role, how have you seen yourself evolve or change? Do more of that.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's a standard that we set on the offensive side and I'm the one that's got to uphold the standard. And that's if guys are false starting, the next guy up, stuff like that. And even for me, it's like holding myself accountable. If I mess up, I'll look to Zach. I'll look to guys like that to hold me accountable too. But I mean, that's just holding leadership-wise, not letting nobody fall underneath the standard.
And do you do that right away, going off leadership? Sometimes there's a bad rep, bad series on offense. You'll go to a receiver or even I've seen assistant coach Ingram or something, and I'm assuming you're correcting or tweaking something. Do you feel like your voice as a leader has a lot more weight now than it did a year ago today, training camp last year?
I don't know. I just think you got to probably ask my teammates about that. But I would say for me, it's more so if I see something, go out there and communicate instead of trying to hold back and hopefully somebody understands what I'm thinking. But more so was just for me, just really going out there and speaking. If I wanted a guy to run a certain route like this, have him go and tell him this is what I see, or talk to Cliff, talk to Vita, talk to Brian, talk to Blau, people like that.
What's it been like to work with Laramie?
Oh, it's been awesome. I love him. So I just think that's the only thing I can say. I love LT.
Jayden, with you and Debo, it looks like you guys have been kind of doing this for a while together. And you talked about the chemistry the other day. How is that going? What, over even just this first week or so of camp, have you noticed that you guys have already kind of elevated a little bit?
It's only been a week of camp. It's only been a week of camp. Yeah. Sheesh. It felt like 3 weeks. But I'll just say for Debo, I mean, the guy's played a lot of football. And he's very understanding of different coverages and routes. And, the guy is a pro. So, and he works hard. So for me, it's like I just go out there and try to communicate this is what I want versus this look versus this coverage. And he go out there and he puts in the work and he understands it.
And you've also talked about how, for you, getting to know the guys on the field is also means getting to know them off the field and who they are and what they like. With Jalen Lane, Sam Field looks like you've been building a chemistry. What have you kind of learned about him as a guy and that speed out on the field? How have you learned about that?
Yeah, the guy doesn't say a lot at all. So I think me and him kind of got that in common. I might talk a little bit more than him, but he's willing to learn. And, that's what you just want for people that are willing to continue to grow and want to develop and learn. So that's the biggest thing for sure.
Ja'Cory Krosky or Bill. Do you call him Bill?
I do call him Bill.
Everybody calls him Bill?
That's Bill.
That's
Bill.
What do you think of him just in what he's done on the field in the first week? And have you gotten to know him much off the field?
Yeah, I mean, just he's really good with his one cut and getting north and south and his vision. He's coming along, so I'm excited to see what he does coming forward versus, in different joint practices versus in preseason games, stuff like that. So I'm excited for him.
I know you watched a ton of ball. You've been around these guys a while now. Are there any guys that you start playing with and they're even better or just different from what you've seen on film?
Oh, you're talking about like people that we
like
got?
Debo or Ertz or guys you've watched before?
They're even better than on film. I mean, LT, Vaughn, Debo. I mean, all the guys that we got, just watching them on Sundays play for some time and now watching them up close and personal, like you can see why Vaughn is going to be a Hall of Famer. You can see why LT is one of the top left tackles in the league. You can see why Debo was all pro. You just see those guys and those talents that they have.
Hey, Jayden. Since Terry's been back in the building, kind of what's been your level of communication with him? Like, what are you two able to accomplish now that he is back, at least like in the building?
Yeah, I mean, it's great having Terry back in the building, and we just communicate like a normal day. Talk about ball, we talk about life. So I mean, nothing's changed at all.
I mean, the last time you were in here, you talked about the great connection you guys formed last year. It's going to come back. That being said, it's 1 year you guys have had together. How important is it to you that he's able to get back on the field sooner than later to sort of continue to build on what you had last year?
I mean, I think it's super important for everybody. Just get as many rests as possible before the big show, the real thing is to happen. But I know the time will come. And till then, I mean, if that's us getting in the film room and watching film and just talking, that's other ways we could do it. But I mean, like I said, man, nothing's changed since Terry's been back in the building. When he's out of the building, we always talk. We talk ball, talk life, and so nothing's changed at all.
Kind of after a bunch of plays, we've seen you and Bobby Wagner or you and Mikey Sanders still kind of talking trash to each other, having a little bit of fun. How much does that help with the competition in camp, kind of having that kind of relationship and the second year, kind of knowing those guys a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily talk trash. I mean, I challenge. Let's say that. Bobby. With Bobby, you're trying to play a chess. It's a chess match. So he might make a call. I might make a call. So just understanding what he's doing and what he's trying to accomplish. But also, I also challenge Joe Witt too a little bit. Just the competition. We're here to get better. We're here to push each other. So it could be the best version of ourselves come week one.
Hey, Jayden, a lot's been made between year one, year two. Can you tell a difference after 7 training camp practices this year that it's night and day from a year ago?
Yeah, I think so. Just like I said, just being more comfortable on the offense, another year under my belt, under the system, and trying to understand what Cliff is calling, what we want to accomplish as an offense. And I got different tools in my tool belt as Coach OG Johnson, Bobby Johnson would say, having tools in my tool belt to get to different protections, get to different runs versus certain looks. So yeah, most definitely night and day. Thank y'all.
Daniels talking to the media after practice. So first and foremost, Max, the immediate takeaway, he is unbelievably more comfortable this year than he was last year. It's not that I ever felt in listening, watching, and then ultimately cutting up his press conferences that I thought he was uncomfortable last year, but he is noticeably more comfortable, little more open, little more extroverted, gives good answers, thoughtful answers. He was very short most times with the media last year, and like for some things, there's just not a lot.
There's only so much
say.
you can. Yeah,
I'm not like I don't need a Ron Rivera answer, or now a Dan Quinn answer because Dan Quinn he gives some long answers. I don't need a long answer for every single question, but it is nice to see that he is much more comfortable, and I think you'll start to see that as training camp progresses. If you haven't noticed that already, and as the season begins, that leads me to believe that this team could be off to a very, very hot start, because this season is going to go one of two ways. It's either going to go amazing. You're going to be lightning hot at the beginning of the season. The offense is going to be rolling and it's never going to stop. Or those of the media members, locally, fans, what have you, that are massive naysayers are going to be correct. The Terry thing is going to be too much to deal with early on. And the offense, despite having all of these new additions, is going to look a little slower than it should. But the more comfortable that Jayden seems, the more likely I feel it is that it's going to be a much more positive start to the season than it will be a negative start to the season. And that is impossible to not get the juices kind of flowing, right? Like we're at this point in time where we love training camp in our industry because it gives us something to talk about. We can get storylines every single day, even though most of the storylines are kind of the Terry thing, right? But you can get storylines from training camp every single day. I just want real games. This profession is so much simpler when you're just dealing with some real football games. I can't wait to see Jayden back out there on the field. The development with him and Cliff in year number 2, I think, is really, really exciting. Keeping and he mentioned that in the press conference, keeping all of the guys that were here on the coaching staff from last year to this year. Like if you just look across the league, what is the biggest knock right now on the Detroit Lions, who Washington beat in the divisional round? Well, they lose all their coaching staff. Not here. Coaching staff the same, especially for the offense. All the guys that were really, really good and excelled last year in the coaching department, they are all back this year. I'm incredibly, incredibly excited about that. So that was Jayden at the podium. We're still going to see if we can get John Bates on today, although it's looking a little bit more unlikely. We have some Denton's Daily News coming up in 20 minutes. At noon, I'm going to start taking your calls. So if you're listening and you want to jump in on this, I want you to start thinking. At noon, we're going to start taking your calls. Have you ever walked out of a job? And if so, what was the story? I want those calls at noon at 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. So start thinking, getting in your brain a little bit. Have you ever walked out of a job, and what was the reasoning for that? Those calls in 45 minutes. But coming up next, I got a bone to pick with a video game. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show. Denton Day sitting in for Kevin on the Team 980. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show. Dende sitting in for Kevin here on the Team 980. Max, are you a Madden guy?
It kind of depends on the year, but like I'll eventually end up buying it, you know? I don't jump at it, you know what I mean? Because I'm not paying $150 for Madden and College Football 26. Usually just gonna wait till
$150
to get the bundle. Yeah, it's something like that.
Dear God.
Yeah, and they throw
what
in.
Are they do?
Well, they throw in like Madden points or whatever the hell for Ultimate Team and all that crap.
I don't know
so
what that means.
Exactly. You don't need to. It doesn't matter.
$150. Jesus Christ. That's a ton of money.
It's a lot.
Oh, Lord have mercy. All right. I bring up the Madden because the Madden ratings are releasing. And while I am not a massive Madden guy, I now want to fight whoever designed elements of this football game. And the main reason is for the rating of our quarterback. So they've released 4 positional ratings. We will get to the wide receivers as well because Terry is in that. They've released, let me say, the top 10.
They did the rookies as well.
But Washington doesn't have, I don't think I saw any Washington rookie.
I saw Trey Amos has, I believe, a 71 overall.
A 71. I thought Connolly might have had 74, but none of them are top 10. The top 10 is like your Travis Hunters, Genty, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But they did release the top 10 quarterbacks.
I did see this.
There are 2 99s. That's Josh Allen. That's Lamar Jackson.
Rightfully so.
There is 197. That is Joe Burrow.
Sure.
There is a 95. That is Patrick Mahomes.
Seems low.
There's a wide gap between Patrick Mahomes and the number 5 quarterback, who is Matthew Stafford, who is ranked in 88.
Disagree.
Then you have, just wait. Then you have Jared Goff at 87. Then you have, are you still waiting? Justin Herbert.
Oh, come on,
at
man.
86.
Come on, what are we doing?
And then you have Jalen Hurts.
I'm out.
At 86.
I'm so glad these ratings are dynamic.
And then at number 9, you have Baker Mayfield at 85. And then rounding out the top 10 is one Jayden Daniels at 85.
Get the hell out of my face, man.
The Jayden Daniels, who won Rookie of the Year, who all of the scouts, general managers, executives, coaches, players, all point to and say, that guy's crazy. Most scouts and executives said that's a top 5 guy. Pro Football Focus said he's a top 6 guy. That one Yahoo forgot to rank him. I don't care about Yahoo anyway. In the NFL top 100, he's likely going to be a top 30 player. But Madden says 85, beneath guys like Baker Mayfield, whom he beat in the playoffs. Despite Baker Mayfield arguably having top to bottom a better roster. Beneath Jared Goff, whom he beat in the playoffs. Despite Jared Goff definitely having a top to bottom better roster, even with the injuries, because Detroit did have a number of injuries. Jared Goff being an 87, while Jayden Daniels is an 85, is blasphemous.
Who has more playoff wins, Denton? I need you to remind me. Jayden Daniels or Justin Herbert?
That would be one Jayden Daniels.
Interesting.
Yeah, Justin Herbert being an 86. Blasphemy. First of all, I think a lot of these guys should be higher just in general.
There should be way less of a gap between Mahomes and Stafford, for sure.
It's like you're telling me not a single other quarterback is in the 90s?
Like, I would give Jayden a 90.
Like, Jayden has to be at the very least, really anything beneath a 91, I would push back at. But an 85 is disrespectful.
Yeah.
From a video game that does take into account the running ability. It's one of the reasons why both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are 99s, because they are dynamic when it comes to throwing the football. Very similar, I would say, to the way that Jayden Daniels is. And they can run. Very similar, I would say, to what Jayden Daniels can do. Now, Jalen Hurts can run too, but you know this, Max. I know this. Even those dodo birds in Philadelphia know this.
Those
a
are
lot of
literate-
his running touchdowns are the tush push.
Yeah.
They're playing grab ass at the line of scrimmage, literally, and they're pushing him into the end zone. That was not the case with Jayden. We saw on a number of different occasions, regular season and postseason, making dynamic plays with his legs that didn't result in touchdowns, but they did lead to points. I mean, who can forget in that Tampa game against Baker Mayfield, who was technically rated a little bit above him? Who could forget the play that he made where that defender had him right where he wanted him until nope. No, he didn't. I can't. This has to be rage bait.
Probably
and I'm
a little,
falling
yeah.
for it. You know, I'm like, we're doing a segment. This isn't just like something that was in Denton's Daily News. We're doing a full segment based off of Madden ratings. This has to be rage bait, though, because what are they watching that would suggest that somebody got to tell me, what do you think makes Jared Goff better than Jayden Daniels? I don't know if I need somebody from Detroit, somebody who's a Jared Goff apologist. Exactly what does he do that is better than Jayden Daniels? It's not winning in the postseason because Washington torched them. Jayden destroyed that defense, and Jared Goff played the worst game, arguably, of the season. That Texans one was pretty bad for him, too. I don't know if he was that bad, but it was his second worst game of the season at home, mind you. Remember, all the conversation leading up to that was Washington. Hey, Cincinnati was loud, but they got nothing on Detroit. I don't think Washington can play in Detroit, as if Detroit is like this well-known ravenous fan base. They ain't walking into Seattle with the decibels creating earthquakes. It's not 4 degrees in Kansas City. They're inside in Detroit. And they thought Jayden Daniels, who played in the SEC, was going to be flustered because Eminem performed. Like, are you serious? But he's better than Jayden Daniels based off of what? Herbert based off of what? Well, literally what ifs with Justin Herbert. He doesn't do much better than Jayden Daniels. I can't believe I'm getting this worked up. I don't even play the game. I don't have a gaming console outside of my phone, but I'm not playing Madden on my phone. I'm sure some people do. I'm not doing it. I then was asked a question. Matt Cash hit me on Twitter because the top 10 wide receivers were released. And this one is way more positive to a particular Washington player. You get 299s on the receiver market. Chase and Jefferson, no surprise there. Amon-Ra St. Brown at 96. CeeDee Lamb at 95. Tyreek Hill at 95. And then Terry McLaurin at 94. Terry is the 6th ranked wide receiver in Madden. Mike Evans at 93. A.J. Brown at 93. Drake London 91. Devontae Adams at 90. So Matt hit me up on Twitter, and you can tweet me at The Denton Day. Do you think this could be used or will be used in a contract negotiation? Does a Madden rating help? And very simply put, if the agent for Terry and his representation comes into a meeting, whether that be Zoom or a face-to-face meeting in Ashburn, with Adam Peters and whoever it is that negotiates contracts with Adam Peters, because I'm sure there's a bunch of legal people in there.
Lance Newmark.
Yeah, Lance, Mark Klaus, maybe, like
Probably,
whoever is
yeah.
in charge of the money. I'm sure they're walking in there too. If the reps for Terry get in front of high-profile executives and point to Madden ratings
You are
as
fired.
a way to dictate contract terms, you should be relieved of your duties.
Out of
Send Superman to the sun to pick you up off of the sun, to fly you back, to then shoot you out of a cannon into the sun again. If we just talked about them rating Jayden at 85, as great as Terry at 94 is, and I believe that Terry should be above the 90s in the Madden ratings. I'm not suggesting that his rating is poor, but it is a terrible negotiating tactic. Like,
It's
you
better
are
than AJ
you are
Brown.
dead ass better off polling 10-year-olds and saying, do you want Terry to re-sign or not? And having those 10-year-olds give you an answer and saying, see, 100% of 10-year-olds want him back. You should sign him.
You know what else this shows? And I know Madden ratings are stupid, but it also goes to show, like we were talking about yesterday, how awful DK Metcalf's deal is.
Yeah, he's not even top 10 on here.
No.
He is nowhere to be found on the top 10. I am a little surprised that Terry's above A.J. Brown because A.J. Brown was sensational last year. But Terry should be in the top 10 of Madden rated wide receivers.
Oh, sure.
I would definitely say that. 6 is higher than I thought it would be. But
Yeah.
he should be in there. It's just that their ratings don't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me.
They don't. I would have given him a 92, like if you scale it, like below A.J. Brown, above Drake London, Mike Evans, and A.J. Brown just sit up there.
Like, I wish they showed us because they have like catch ratings, right?
Yeah.
And speed, and for receivers, there's like route running and like the awareness and all these things.
The breakdown.
I wish they would show us the breakdown as to how certain guys got where, more so for Jayden than for Terry. Like, again, Terry being in the top 10 of wide receivers is a rightful place in the Madden ratings. Jayden being an 85 is not. I cannot get over that.
It's sickening.
We have people in this office that play Madden a ton. Anthony Haney plays Madden. Apparently, Anthony Haney, silly on the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Darius Dameron, who is the producer for Grant and Daniel on 106.7 The Fan,
wants to kill Anthony Haney almost every day when they play Madden.
Silly on the sticks. Apparently, I don't know if he's as silly as Anthony, though. I don't know what the matchup is between the two of them.
Listen, Darius is gearing up for retirement, so I think we know where the ranking goes.
Damn, it'd really be like that.
It do.
Jeff Walker plays. Jeff Walker's terrible, from what I have been told.
Jeff talks himself up quite a bit, but I know if we hopped on the sticks, it would be over.
It would be a bloodbath. You're not in that league, are you?
No.
So, but we have people that play Madden. I might need to ask them what the situation is here, because Jayden being an 85 behind your Bakers and your Jared Goffs and your Herberts, what I don't understand, when are people going to let go of Herbert? There needs to be a point in time, a come to Jesus moment, where those that are in charge of decisions like this decide, like, hey, man, you know what? We might have gotten this one wrong. Yeah, his intangibles are silly. We might have gotten this one wrong.
I see. That's the thing, though. John Harbaugh came out and said, we, as a team, they have to get on Justin Herbert's level. So he is better than everybody. He's the head of the snake.
Maybe.
They just got to catch up.
I mean,
it's more of a team issue.
That could just be because their roster isn't built very well. They got a bunch of dudes that are hurt all the time. They don't have a lot of good wide receivers. Running back is an interesting cycle. Offensive line's pretty good.
Omari and Hampton will be fine.
Hampton will be good. You won't see Justin Herbert tonight. We do have a preseason game. I got a bet for you coming up here in Denton's Daily News.
We're so back.
But Jayden being an 85 is preposterous. You can tweet me at the Denton Day. Our call topic at noon. Have you ever walked out of a job? What was the reason that you walked out of a job? Or if you didn't walk out of a job and you almost walked out of a job, what was the reason why you almost walked out of a job? 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. That conversation at noon, but coming your way next, Denton's Daily News. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show. Denton Day sitting in for Kevin on the Team 980.
All right, here is what is happening on this Thursday, July 31st. Gilbert Arenas was arrested last night in connection with an illegal high-stakes poker game that were being hosted at his mansion rented by the Wizards legend. Arenas was booked along with 4 others, including Marcus Morris and suspected members of the Israeli mob. Arenas posted a video to social media last night captioned, "I'm back on the streets. This ain't got blank to do with me. Just rented the house. Wasn't a part." End quote. And one of the most coveted bats in baseball right now is on the move as Eugenio Suarez was traded to the Mariners late last night. This marks the second deal between the Mariners and Diamondbacks after Arizona shipped first baseman Josh Naylor up to Seattle less than 1 week ago. Noah Fant has signed a deal with the Bengals. He joins the tight end room with Mike Gesicki and Tanner Hudson in an already loaded Bengals offense. Michael Phelps is teaching the Ravens how to swim after Marlon Humphrey posted a video asking Phelps for his help and reported that 1 in 3 Ravens players cannot swim. Michael Phelps responded, quote, "I got y'all." Plus, the Washington Nationals, they fall to the Houston Astros last night by a score of 9-1. Mackenzie Gore falls to 4-11 after giving up 8 hits and 6 earned runs in just 5.1 innings pitched. Nats have the day off today to travel home. They will kick off their series versus Milwaukee Brewers tomorrow on 106.7 The Fan. This update is sponsored by the Team 980 YouTube page. Just open the app, type in the Team 980, hit subscribe. Kevin Sheehan is live from 10 to 1 and Craig Hoffman from 4 to 7. Don't forget to like the streams and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all things DC sports. And that is what's trending.
It's the Kevin Sheehan Show. Denton Day sitting in for Kevin here on the Team 980. At 12 noon, have you ever walked out of a job? If so, what was the story? If you haven't walked out of a job, were you close to walking out of a job? What did your employer do? 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. I know some of y'all got some crazy stories, and I want to hear them at noon. Before we get to that, though, it's time for some Denton's Daily News. We will start with this Gilbert Arenas story in a moment, but I first need from you, Max.
Uh-oh.
Can we get a temperature update in the production studio?
Oh, it's when I walked in this morning, it was 80 degrees. It is currently sitting at, I believe, 81, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, Brian holds up 82 in the studio.
Degrees.
But we did walk in this morning with a little bit of extra help. I had a box fan pointed right at my desk chair. You had one pointing right into the room that I assume you have moved to be facing.
I have moved because it was just blowing in a position of which I was not.
Yeah.
It was literally just blowing away from me. If you have been following the show this week, we have no air conditioning in the production room. And because the production room in the studio in which I sit is connected on the same vent, I have no air conditioning.
We're doing great.
We were told after 2 hours of no air conditioning back on Tuesday, it would be fixed by noon.
Well,
it is now nearly noon on Thursday, and we have a space fan and a box fan in the production studio, a box fan in my studio, and my wife was kind enough to give me one of her pink portable fans.
Hell
I
yeah.
tweeted the picture of that. You can find it at the Denton Day. So it is doing its damnedest to cool this place down. But I've realized, Max, as we've been sitting here for about 2 hours, I got into the studio a little earlier. So really about 3 hours. You've been in there. I've been in here, right? The fan is great, but it's just blowing hot air because that's all that exists in the room right now.
Yeah, your situation is a little bit more dire than mine because I've got the portable AC blasting. I hope it's still 60-degree air, but I don't know if it's been changed since I changed it yesterday. But this box fan that has been pointed at me this entire show has been incredibly helpful. I'm so blessed. But at the same time, this isn't going to get fixed until I'll probably be suffering till about Wednesday of next week. You got a double shift tomorrow, so that'll be great. Looking forward to that. Yeah.
That's going to be 7 hours.
Yeah, I know. But Tom and I have talked. Tom's our head tech guy, and the compressor in the air conditioning unit is shot. So we are working on getting that. He said it should be about a week. And that was our conversation yesterday. So hopefully we get that resolved as quickly as we can. Because it's hot. I don't like it.
Hold on.
Sure. I'm listening.
A week.
Mm-hmm.
A week to get an air compressor or a compressor of some kind.
For a very specific AC unit, yes.
For a very specific...
I don't know how specific, but a specific AC unit compressor, yeah.
How diverse are air conditioning compressors?
I have no idea.
Admittedly, that is a market that I have zero knowledge of. I don't know what I cannot speak on the air conditioning market. There is no amount of Facebook research I could do or YouTube University research I could do that could get me qualified to speak on this with anything more than I feel like they would be way more readily available than a week.
You would hope, but that wasn't the answer that I was given.
Okay.
I was told a week.
I'm going to not get myself in trouble here because I do like this job and we are just going to get to some news stuff.
Love my job. That's why I'm still sitting here.
Because I could. Maybe this will be the, when we come to you at noon about almost walking out of a job. Maybe
this might be it.
This will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. All right. So some Denton's Daily News. Max, you have touched on this. Gilbert Arenas arrested yesterday in his affiliation or reported affiliation with illegal poker games. It was him. It was one of the Morris twins and a bunch of Israeli mobsters, I have learned.
What a triumvirate.
Dynamic group.
It truly is bizarre. But Gil, he was on the streets last night, so Lord knows maybe
this is why I know that Gilbert lost his fastball. He posted a video of him walking out of what I assume is the courthouse. And he's excited. That video was not live.
Yeah.
So he could have played that up, right? Prime Gilbert, prime jokester, he would have walked out with a deck of cards in his pocket and been shuffling as he's walking down the stairs.
Yeah.
Just the way that when he was being investigated for the gun situation, he was in the huddle doing the gun celebration. And as a kid who loved Gilbert Arenas at the time, I was like, oh my God, yes, he's sticking it to the man. Gilbert, that's my guy. Now as an adult, you're like, he did what? I'm like, why was he doing that? So maybe that's a small sign of maturation from Gilbert Arenas, but I'm just saying he's lost his fastball. He could have had a deck of cards. The person filming that, I don't know who it was. They could have came with a deck of cards, been like, hey, take these real quick, go back, walk up, shuffle them, come back down.
Yeah.
And he would have done it.
Oh, he would. He would have been like, that's a great idea.
He would have done it. Just that's a missed opportunity. I don't imagine that he is going to get charged with anything. So I think he's going to be all right. But it is just weird seeing his name pop up in a situation like that.
Oh, absolutely. The charges I feel are a little like, who among us? You know what I mean? 1 count of conspiracy to operate an illegal gambling business, 1 count of operating an illegal gambling business, and 1 count of making false statements to federal investigators. Who among us hasn't played poker in their home amongst their friends and maybe may or may not have lied to law enforcement about it?
I don't know what is the because people play poker all the time,
every day.
What is the threshold that makes it
I'm curious to know
totally
that myself.
normal versus very illegal? Because I know there is one. Gilbert is not the first or the last that is going to get popped for illegal poker games. In fact, there are a multitude of men in the New York region that are involved with these sorts of situations that may or may not allegedly be involved with players who've been gambling on themselves. Allegedly. Your Roziers, Malik Beasley, so on and so forth. So there are illegal poker rings. I just don't know what the yes, very much Jonte Porter. I just don't know what the discrepancy is between totally legal and illegal. Because again, poker is just a game.
Yeah.
You just having fun with the boys. You got some brewskis, maybe a cigar or two lit in the room. I mean, hell, we in DC. You can roll weed or something like that. Like, that's all totally something that happens on a regular basis. I just don't know what makes it illegal. I think Gilbert's going to be fine, though.
Plenty. I think it'll be all right.
Have you seen this story? You an energy drink guy or you a coffee guy?
I know exactly what story you're about to. I've got a golden ticket.
You got a golden ticket. So there's a recall on Celsius drinks because there was a large portion of Celsius drinks that have allegedly high noon in them. There was a mistake at a factory, and high noon was put into containers that were labeled as Celsius.
Whoops.
You will know Celsius is supposed to be a clean energy drink. Way more healthy.
They marketed
way more natural than your Monsters, your Red Bulls. If people still drink Rock Stars, I know that was like a phase in the late 2010s, early 2020s. I don't know if they
I've seen them around. Not as much.
Not as much. Amp, maybe some Ghost Energy. Like there, you know, some come and go. Monster and Red Bull are the two biggest ones, right?
Yeah.
But Celsius is clean.
Allegedly.
Well, now there are some cans that have high noon in them. High noon is an alcoholic beverage. Sometimes made with tequila, sometimes made with vodka.
Somebody's having a great workout.
See, I was at home yesterday, and I was talking to my wife about this because she came in and she said, hey, did you see this crazy story about high noon and Celsius? And I was like, yes, I did, because I knew we were going to talk about it today. And she's like, yeah, imagine if somebody's sobriety got ruined because of this mix-up. And I was like, immediately deflated. Just like, wow, she is a much better person than I am. Because that was my thought was your thought. You're looking for a pick-me-up. A little bit of vodka at 8 a.m. is going to be a pick-me-up when you're expecting some clean energy. She was thinking of other people that are going on like real tough journeys that have overcome real demons, and then that being ruined all because a bunch of corporate idiots didn't label a can correctly.
Listen, that's why they call them the better half.
That is exactly why she is the better half. Now I do question, how clean is Celsius? Like, I don't think of high noon as like clean.
Apparently they're suing a guy for giving like actual details on what's in it. So I don't really want to expound too much.
Means it's not that clean.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm just noticing a few things here and there.
Yeah. Imagine if they were we got a little thing in there. The kitchen where we got to pay for our drinks. Imagine you go for a Celsius, maybe sipping on a high noon at 9:30 a.m. It'll be great. Final
awesome.
thing here that I just find to be very interesting, and I do have a pick for you for tonight's game. I was driving around DC, leaving the studio the past 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
and on Monday and Tuesday, I saw Whammos in DC. If
saw
you
you
are
tweet
not
about
what,
this.
if you're not familiar with what a Waymo is, or a Waymo,
There you go.
a Waymo is a self-driving vehicle, and it looks like a rocket ship because it has all the cameras in the world on the top of the vehicle. They're usually white. There might be a few different colors, but they're usually white. There's cameras on top of the vehicle. There's cameras on the sides of the vehicle. And I'd seen these when I went to my bachelor party in Austin.
They're everywhere down there, aren't they?
They're everywhere. I think Waymo was created in that area. Austin is kind of like the techie
It sounds like
area
a
of the
place where it would
South.
start.
Like,
Yeah.
it's where you could get away with that. It's also a college town. It's a little bit bigger than a college town, but it's mostly a college town. Really, a lot of young people in Austin. You could not pay me to get in a Waymo in Washington, D.C.
No.
With this traffic, with the amount of bikers that just don't follow the rules of the road.
Oh, here comes a motorcade. I'm going to veer you off the road.
Motorcades, with scooters, with walkers. Like, there are so many
Too many variables.
different variables in Washington, D.C. that it's not like they don't exist in other cities like Austin, Texas. But do you want to be in the Beltway on a self-driving car at
Hell no.
rush hour? Hell no.
I barely want to be in my car.
I don't want to be in my car. I don't want to be in an Uber. I barely want to be on the damn metro in rush hour across the Beltway. I definitely don't want to be in a self-driving car. One of my biggest issues with Ubers here, and I really only here because this is the place where I Uber the most. I hate happy feet breakers.
Yeah.
You're just constantly
Tap,
on the brake and
tap,
tapping
tap,
and rocking
tap,
and doing
tap.
all these things. When I went to St. Lucia for my honeymoon, St. Lucia, the roads there are very different than the roads here, as you could imagine.
You driving on the other side?
They're driving on the other side. I didn't drive a car. I was just a passenger. Driving on the other side, but they don't have highways. Or they have a highway. Their highways ain't our highways. And there's a large portion of me that is like, yeah, no, I totally agree. This area is beautiful. Why would you take away from the beauty by getting rid of stuff and just making highways? That'd be terrible. It's a bad idea. And then I had to drive in it. And it's an hour and a half from where the airport was to where I was. And let me tell you, baby brake checking. The way in St. Lucia that they handle speed bumps made me want to walk everywhere. Everywhere. What they would do is they would get over a speed bump. And there was a lot of speed bumps in St. Lucia for whatever the reason is. They would speed to the speed bump, slam the brakes, go over it slowly, speed to the next one, slam the brakes, go over it slowly. I wanted to die. I could not imagine something like that taking place on the Beltway in a self-driving car. How do you even tell insurance of that? You're like, hey, so here's the thing. I got neck pain because I was rear-ended or I was in a collision. Who was driving? Well, no one was driving.
The computer.
The technology was driving. Insurance is going to tell you that sucks. You probably earned this. And then you ain't getting nothing covered.
Yep.
Could not do it.
Yeah.
Could not do it. All right, Terry McLaurin is in his hold-in phase. But he's not technically at work right now, not at work the way that we would want him to be at work. Have you ever walked out of a job? If you have walked out of a job, what made you walk out of a job? I want that story from you. 301-230-0980. 301-230-0980. Have you ever walked out of a job and what caused you to do so? We will share our stories. We want yours coming up next. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show with Dende sitting in for Kevin on the Team 980. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show. Denton Day sitting in for Kevin here on the Team 980. If you're not following me on Twitter at the Denton Day, you can tweet me your thoughts on all of the topics we have discussed. Right now, we're going to have a little bit of fun. A little tightly wound here with the Terry McLaurin contract stuff. He is not at work the way that we want him to be at work, but we have all been there. I want to know about a moment in your life where you were unhappy with your position at work, you left the job, or you came dangerously close to leaving said job. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Thankfully, while I do have two stories that are relevant to this topic, none of them have anything to do with like the last 10 years of my life. I've been pretty good on the job market in the last 10 years. It was not always this way. So, Max, I got two for you. I'm going to start with the one that just, it was a head-scratching decision, and then one where I thought I was legitimately going to get fired, and then we are going to have a situation. So first, my first job was going to be at a Dairy Queen. I was going to work at a Dairy Queen in South Riding, Virginia. It was a big deal in South Riding when a Dairy Queen came to town. You're like, oh, yes, Dairy Queen, are you kidding me? Ice cream? Oh, this is going to be silly. Oh, can't wait. And we knew someone that was working at the Dairy Queen, high up. It was a dad to friend, acquaintance, so to speak, like more acquaintance than friend, but you just known for a long time. And he was going to hire everyone. So there was a bunch of us, probably like 12 to 14. They had their workforce done. We go through the whole process of interviews. We go through a process of training. The grand opening date is set. And then we get an email. I say we, the parents get an email because you can't email a 15-year-old as an employer. At that point, you couldn't do that. And Dairy Queen says, hey, we can't hire any of you because you're not old enough. We knew you were all 15. We went about the process knowing that you were all 15 because it was on the resume and everything.
We trained you.
And then we realized, hey, you're not old enough to have a worker's permit in the state of Virginia. So I got fired before I technically even worked. So that's story number one. Bad work experience. Got fired. Story number two that almost had me legitimately leaving if I actually had a car. I was 15 years old. This was this fall. So that story about Dairy Queen was in the spring. This was in the fall. There was a company that would hire you if you were not 16, and they took full advantage of the fact that they didn't have to pay you minimum wage as long as they fed you.
A certain farm out in the middle of
nowhere?
It
was Cox Farms in Northern Virginia. I happened to grow up really enjoying Cox Farms.
It was fun when I was a kid.
If you take your family there, keep taking your family there, right? If your kids love it, keep taking your kids there. I don't want my experience to ruin your family's experience. However, my experience working there did ruin my enjoyment of Cox Farms. I was supposed to be an alien on the hayride. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be an alien on the hayride. My first legitimate day on the job, a fight breaks out between two of the other aliens involving a piece of wood and a stabbing motion. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? I'm 15, very, very introverted when I was 15 years old. I'm like, what is going on right now? Those two guys, after the fight, they are so mad, so heated, they leave. They take the walkie-talkies with them. I have no way of communicating with anybody outside of the hayride about what is going on here, and I can't leave the hayride. They just lost two aliens. I'm the only one. Finally, after about an hour, literally an hour, this is, by the way, it's like August. Hot as hell out there. I'm the only alien. Somebody comes running over to me. They're like, hey, you. They didn't know my name yet because I was very low on the totem pole. They're like, hey, you. Why is there only one alien? Well, I was like, well, funny you asked that. One, I was off 30 minutes ago. Two, the two other aliens that were out here got in a fight and they left. And she's like, well, that's not good. I was like, yes, thank you, Captain Obvious. That is very much not a good thing. Well, that became a legitimate law problem. Cops got involved. I was a witness to this whole situation. I had to testify, give a statement, all these different things. I didn't get to be a Cox Farm alien anymore. I had to work parking. I had to work a GD lemonade stand. You know when they put me on the lemonade stand? They put me on the lemonade stand on Sundays. You know what also takes place on Sundays, Max? The then Washington Redskins. of which I very much knew. I was like, I think I kind of want to do this sports media thing for a living. At 15 years old, I was ahead of the game. One day, when it was like the only 425 kick that the Skins had that entire season. They had a 425 kick. I am tasked with cleaning a lemonade stand. This was a lemonade stand where we squeeze it by hand, and we also make pretzels. We put the sugar in the lemonade by hand. I got to stir it, so I got to squeeze the lemons, get the juice, combine it with the sugar water, stir it, this whole shebang. It's a very easy process, but as you could probably imagine, it is hilariously messy. Sugar, lemon, sticky all over the place, pretzels, salt, the whole nine. They're like, hey, 15-year-old Denton, clean this entire thing up. Well, guess who at 15 years old didn't know how to clean to save his life? I took a hose, I took some water to the lemonade stand, and I said, that's probably clean. I don't need to do anything else. Again, I'm 15. What 15-year-old knows how to clean? I don't even know how to clean a lemonade stand at 30. I take some water. Let me tell you, your boy got a voicemail.
Well,
it was not a very nice voicemail.
I can imagine.
And they were like, hey, if this happens again, you are fired. And I was like, hey, don't hire a 15-year-old to clean a lemonade stand, you morons.
Give me a better gig.
Like, if you want me to pick up pizza boxes, I'll pick up some pizza boxes. I can do that one, pretty self-explanatory. I can't clean a lemonade stand at 15. That's what the adults are supposed to be for. So those are my two. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Have you ever walked out of a job? And if so, what caused you to walk out of a job? Let's hit the phones. Let's start with Millie in Maryland. Millie, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Denton? Thanks for taking my call, man.
Of course.
So basically, obviously this was like years ago, but anyway, the story goes is I was working at a big sporting goods doing security, and security, there's SO and SOP or whatever, however the levels go. But I was just there, monitoring the store like you always do to make sure there's no shoplifting. And basically the store was pretty dry that day, pretty much my whole shift. And I guess the manager, didn't have nothing else to do. He's walking around the store and everything, there's no action happening, like I said. And I guess he just comes up to me and say, hey, I basically was leaning on, the sensor when you walk in the store, the sensor will go off if you steal anything or something to that nature. And basically, he was like, yo, don't, I was leaning up against it, it's nothing to do. It's no action. It's no traffic coming through. And literally the manager starts messing with me and saying, hey, don't lean against it. And I'm like, dude, I'm not doing anything. I'm just like, it's nobody in here but you and me. And he's literally like, you know what? I'm going to call the manager. I'm going to call, I'm going to call your guy and say, hey, I don't want you working in my store anymore. Like, he was getting me super blown. And I'm just like, you know what? Since you want me out of here, I'll just go ahead and leave. He was like, okay, go ahead and leave. I'll just let your supervisor know that you left. I'm like, okay. Little did I know, walking into the office the next day to figure out what location I'm going to be at next, my supervisor was like, yeah, you can't leave your post. So little did I not know that cost me my job. But I mean, when the manager said, well, I don't want you working at my store, and, I didn't know at that time. I think I was like maybe 18, 19 or something, but I was not well known that you couldn't walk off your shift. And I'm like, if the guy didn't want me working there, I just ended up leaving, hey, best result for me and you. But when I went into the office the next day, my supervisor was like, yeah, you can't leave your post regardless of, but I'm like, the dude was literally harassing me and it's nobody in the store.
Yeah,
so,
for real.
You live and learn, but go ahead.
I was about to say, you are the other guy got to get punished too. If he's egging you on to go leave and he's just being not a very nice person. I almost said a word I can't say on radio. But if he's not being a nice person, he should get punished too.
Yeah. And clearly when I tried to explain my side of the story, it was like, yeah, we understand that. And, but it's like, but for you, for the store safety, you should have still stayed there. And I'm like,
terrible.
Stay there and take the harassment?
Yeah, that's terrible. That's a great call, though, Millie.
But hey,
I appreciate you sharing the story.
Don't worry, I'm not in that service no more. Thank you so much, man, for taking my call. Take it easy.
Have you ever walked out of a job? Terry McLaurin is he's there. Like, this is not poking fun at Terry. We're just having a little bit of fun because he wants some changes at his job or changes necessary so much at your job that you walked out. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Let's go to Spencer in Rockville. Spencer, what's going on?
Hey, Dan. So years ago, this is decades ago, I was in school at GW in DC, and I had a family tragedy, and it just sort of knocked me to a point where I decided to just drop out, and I went into the military. And I stayed there for a tour, came back out, and re-enrolled in school, but then I needed a job. And so I went to the DC jobs, office, and they said, can you drive a manual transmission? And I said, oh, yeah, I can drive those. So they said, well, go to this location, 4 a.m., tomorrow. And, this is DC General Services or something. And, this guy's get you started. I show up, and it is a job to drive a trash truck. And so I get in the truck, I start driving. The guys were really nice to show me how to operate it and everything. And so I do it, and we go through maybe 30 minutes of 2 or 3, rat-infested alleys. And then I just got to the point, I said, I looked at the guy, I said, I appreciate it, but I can't do this. And I literally just walked away into the early morning of the streets and just never went back.
Hi, Spencer, I'm proud of you for looking at that situation and being like, nah, this ain't me.
Yeah, I'm not built for this.
This is not a position in which I can be successful at. I'm good. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Have you ever walked out of a job? What caused you to walk out of said job? Max, have you walked out of a job before or been at least dangerously close to walking out of a job?
So I wouldn't say I've walked out, but I've definitely quit a job because I was like, screw this. I was a dishwasher when I was like 16, 17. And so
tough business.
It was like the first thing I would do when I got there would be chop up tomatoes and onions for salsa. So my eyes were in hell like 15 minutes into my shift. So that was awesome. And then, I would clean dishes at a Mexican restaurant where there's cheese on everything.
Yes.
So pretty impossible to like get thoroughly done. And then just more and more dishes would stack up, and that would be a huge pain in the ass. So I was doing that for like a week or two, and this was in 2018 when the Washington Capitals were on their Stanley Cup run. So I missed the first like couple games of the Tampa Bay Lightning series. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm wrapping up school. It's my senior year. I don't really need this. I would much rather do other things. And so, I got home from work at like midnight one night. I talked to my parents. I was like, guys, I can't.
Like, I ain't doing this.
I don't want to do this anymore. And they were like, okay, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. I was like,
bet I will not do that anymore.
It was great.
Hiring high school age children to be dishwashers.
$10 an hour, by the way.
I understand it. That's way more than I was getting at Cox Farms. I got $6.50. Minimum wage was $7.50.
Well,
they're like, hey, you know what I did? I don't know. The statute of limitations is clearly gone.
Very far off.
I would just eat twice. They're like, you get one lunch, and it could either be like a chicken sandwich, a pulled pork sandwich, a Domino's pizza, Papa John's, whatever they catered with.
Sick.
I would eat at the beginning of, or like at the general lunch shift in my shift, and then I would just go to somebody else because they would change every like 3 hours who was operating, and then I would eat again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, if you're not going to pay me,
I'm going to eat a
proper amount of money, I'm gonna rig the system here. And I did rig the system. I was very proud of myself for that. Have you ever walked out of a job? If so, why? I want to know your story. Lap is in DC. Lap, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Dan? Good show, bro.
Appreciate it.
Two quick ones, right? Yeah, I got two quick ones. So I was about 16. I held school with some friends to go up Union Station. So when I got up there, we were just supposed to go, looking in the mall, go shopping, stuff like that. And then we were going to go in the food court and eat some food. So it was a group of us, probably about 7. So we split up. So when we got back, 2 of the guys I was with, they robbed a kid. His parents had gave him a credit card. So they took the credit card. So I'm caught in the middle of this because I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I'm getting chased by security in Union Station. So I'm running around Union Station, and I escape because I'm like, you're not catching me. So, and I didn't even do anything. So then I get to like the fountain out there in front of Union Station, and this homeless man, he saw that the security was coming. So he like let me know like, hey, go the other way. So I went the other way. So then, long story short, once everybody that was involved got caught except me, they wanted me to testify on the people and this and that. And then my job at the time, I was working like a summer youth program at an office in K Street. And then they were just stereotyping me. And, you know, I'm a good kid. I've never been in trouble or anything. It got all resolved because I didn't, like I said, I didn't do anything. So I ended up walking out. You know, I left the company. It was like, oh, you can come back. And I'm like, no, you guys prejudged me. You didn't even know the situation. It wasn't innocent to proven guilty. Like, I'm an honor roll student, never done anything. Like, come on. So that's one. The other one was FedEx.
Right.
It was like built up for FedEx because I had all this random stuff just happening, man. Like somebody stole a TV off the back of my truck, and if you delivering in Southeast DC, everybody know you gotta be on guard.
You got to be on guard. Keep your head on a swivel, right?
Yeah. Then another guy runs into the truck. He steals a car, runs into the truck. I don't know how he survived. He got out the car flipped several times, ran into the truck. You know, they didn't even care. I had to go to the hospital, get myself checked out. So it was just more stuff. And then the last draw of that was I had to go to the Mystics arena because the Wizards were practicing. I had a delivery for Russell Westbrook, a whole bunch of shoes I had to get off the truck. So I wasn't really good at driving the truck. So I backed into the gate and bent the pole on the gate. So the gate didn't close all the way.
Yeah.
So I got security, police is calling, and they like, and one of the ladies that work with the team, she's harassing me like, dude, you can't go. You don't care about the Wizards' safety. I said, man, I don't even know who you are. I'm trying to like deliver these shoes to Russell Westbrook, and I'm trying to leave. I said, I'm sorry about the fence. I was like, you got to talk to my boss.
Right.
And it was just all of that stuff built up there. And then I was like, man, I quit. So
you are, Lap, I appreciate it, man. Those are two good stories. You were smart to get up on out of there. I'm always impressed with those that are either package thieves on the front porch or just rolling up into a FedEx truck and stealing. Because, like, what if you steal something that's whack?
Yeah, it really, listen, we are gamblers.
Like,
is that not the ultimate gamble?
It's a big gamble. One is probably not worth it, but the two, like, what if you steal something? Not. Like, if you're, let's just say, like, you're a man and you roll
women's
up on
women's
clothing, or like, you know, tampons or something like that.
Lingerie
like,
again.
What am I supposed to do with this? Have you ever walked out of a job? And if so, what was the reason that caused you to leave? 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. A few more of your phone calls when we get back. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show. Dent Day sitting in for Kevin on the Team 980.
$81. I had the same question. I looked it up.
Kevin Sheehan Show. Denton Day sitting in for Kevin here on the Team 980. Our question on the phones, have you ever walked out of a job, and what was the reason? This is a little bit of a loose play on the fact that Terry is holding in right now. I'm expecting that he is going to sign an extension in the near future. I don't know how near. But we know it's financial issues that are causing him to not be at work right now. And I'm sure some of you have some really good stories. We've heard some really good stories about some issues at work that caused you not to be at work. I want to hear them. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Daryl is in South Florida. Daryl, what's going on?
How you doing, guys?
I'm
I hope
doing
we get
well.
Terry signed pretty quickly too.
Me too.
So about 50 years ago, I got fired off my first job. I was, 14 years old, 15 years old, something like that. And this is back in the day when the Washington Post used to be delivered by hand by quote unquote paper boys. So I was a paper boy. And the way they did this was they dropped off a stack of papers on your designated corner. Or let's say you had 30, 40 houses. And every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, you'd go to your corner, you'd get the papers, you'd go house to house and drop them off. Rain, shine, snow, didn't matter, right? It was pain in the butt, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, on Sundays, as you can imagine, the paper was huge and it took forever to do that as well. Anyway, they didn't have online payment systems back then either, of course, right? This is 50 years ago. So you also had to then go out in the evening once a month and go to every house and try to collect money from everybody to pay for their papers. Well, half the time they weren't home, half the time they didn't have checks. You're going back and forth. I was over it, right? It got to a point I was just over it.
Right.
Well, my dad wanted to teach me a lesson, so he was not going to let me quit. You cannot quit your job. That's not the work ethic we have in this family. So 14-year-old Daryl said, okay, I can't quit. So I just did not deliver anyone's paper for like 4 or 5 days and just let them pile up on the corner where the guy was dropping them off every morning. And people called in to complain. Anyway, I got myself fired so I could tell my dad I didn't quit.
Hey, that's intuitive. So I kind of like that, Joe. That's a great call. I think there's a little bit of wit there. So I'm down with that. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Have you ever walked out of a job? What was the reason that you did so? Terry is at work right now. Terry McLaurin is, but he has some financial issues with his place of employment. What are your issues with some previous places of employment? Nate is in Upper Marlboro. Nate, what's going on?
What's going on, fellas? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Hope you are.
That's good. Yeah, I'm doing good. One time I walked off the job, man. I was working at UPS. It was a part-time job. It was my second job. And everybody on my line took a vacation. So it was my turn. I went to my management about 2 or 3 times, telling them, it's my turn to do I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Well, all right. I mean, is Nate taking calls on the job right now?
I was gonna say he's taking or doing a call on a job he's got to walk out of, but he walked out on the call about the job he was walking out of.
Yeah, he walked out on us for the job going on there. I don't know. Maybe
listen, when the boss man comes calling, I get it. You gotta just hang up quick.
Tell the boss you're doing something important.
I'm calling into a radio show. Boss, leave me alone.
What does the boss think? Has the boss walked out of a job?
I'd love to know.
Yeah, I'm sure that there has to be some history there. If he's yelling at an employee for doing something, there's something there. Gary is in Frederick. Gary, what's going on?
Hey, my name's Gary, longtime listener. Love all the guys on this show. 66 years old. When I was 17, I used to deliver packages and in my own car occasionally after working in a warehouse at 100 degrees, and you guys can relate.
Unfortunately, yeah.
They send me down to D.C., and I go into D.C. and I have to deliver something on 4th Street. Well, when you get around the Capitol, there are a lot of 4th Streets, Northwest, Northeast, North-South. Anyway, I get lost. And then I'm at a light, and a bunch of youths come up and threaten me. So I speed through the light. Next thing I know, I see cop car lights. anyway, I get away from that. I get out of there. I get all the way back to the plant. And I said, I'm sorry, I couldn't deliver your packages. And they're like, well, why not? I said, I quit.
He said, I'm not getting run up on just to deliver some of your packages. I respect that, Gary. I respect that. I think everyone that's worked in here in some capacity in this particular building or just around the DC area has gotten lost in some capacity. Driving into DC, I remember I didn't get fired for this. I didn't want to leave the job. I was embarrassed. And it's hilarious that Scott Jackson was on with us today because this story does very much involve Scott Jackson. I was working as a street teamer at 980 here on this station. It was years ago. It was when the station was still technically owned by Red Zebra. I was working as a street teamer. And as a member of the street teamer, we kind of cycled between who of us on the street team was responsible for bringing any sort of gear, equipment, promotional material. You were talking like tables, tablecloths, posters, you name it, right? We cycle through. I never wanted to do it because I was not crazy comfortable driving in Washington, D.C., but it was my turn. Had to do it, right? So I go to the Rockville offices. This is when the station, again, was not an Odyssey station. It was owned by Red Zebra. It was in Rockville. I go to the Rockville stations. I get this big bin of things. I just want to be in radio, right? I'm young. I'm like, this is like my first job technically out of college. Not a real job, but like first job technically out of college, right? I was working for this street team for 980 and for Monumental Sports Network, and I was working at a summer camp. So I had 3 jobs this summer. But I just like, I'm going to get in radio. I'm going to get in radio. Scott Jackson comes walking out of the studio. He's doing a night show from 7 to 9 at some bar in D.C. with Fred Smoot. He's walking down. And I'm like, oh, my God, that's Scott Jackson. I listen to Scott Jackson. Oh, my God, Fred Smoot's going to be here. I listen to Fred Smoot. I love Fred Smoot. So I'm walking out of the studio, and Scott acknowledges me. And I'm like, oh, my God, Scott Jackson just said hello to me. He says, hello, see you tonight. And I'm like, yes, yeah, you will, Scott. You will absolutely see me tonight. Your boy gets crazy lost going from Rockville to DC. And I keep taking a certain way that my GPS is telling me to take. But my GPS, this is in 2018, not great GPS. It does not take into consideration that one of the roads is closed in the afternoon. It's open in the morning to get the flow of traffic going in the afternoon.
Early days of Apple Maps. I remember.
It's closed. So it keeps taking me on this route. And I'm like, look, man, like I can't go this way. It took me, what should have taken me 35 minutes, took me 90 minutes.
Oh my God.
They're like 30 minutes. I left the Rockville studios at probably like 5:30. I get there, maybe 6 o'clock. I get there. They're like 20 minutes into the show already. It's Scott Jackson. I've never told him this story, so if he's still listening, hopefully he will get a kick out of it. Scott Jackson sees me pull up, and he's like, hey, I saw you walking out of the studio, man. How'd I beat you here? And he says it on air. And I'm like, Scott, I
feel the bus running over me right now.
I am literally melting right now. I'm just melting everything away. Thankfully, Scott and I are friends now. And again, I never told him that story. But that was embarrassing. You've probably gotten lost. Brian, I know you have an answer to this because I see you typing away in the chat. Have you ever nearly walked out of a job? And what was the reason and why you walked out of the job?
I can't say that I have, but okay, I'll say this. Once the pandemic kicked off, I was like, nah. I'm not risking my health for $12.50 an hour.
And you weren't working here. This is a different job.
No,
yeah?
This was at Dollar General. I hated that job.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. I never really worked in the food service industry. My brother did. I never really did. And I'm grateful for that because it's challenging. You told me a story about being a dishwasher.
It's awful.
It is a challenging. I like the fact that I tip well. Because my brother worked in the food service industry. I have had a lot of friends that have worked in the food service industry.
You develop a lot of sympathy.
I've never worked in like a Dollar General or like a Walgreens before. One of my friends worked in a Walgreens. In fact, I think he might have actually gotten fired for texting on the job.
Who among us?
I mean, just normal things. 2014 was a wild time. You just weren't allowed to text at things. People ask me that all the time now. I'm like, I get in trouble if I'm not on my phone.
It's true.
At work. It is true. All right, so that's it for that. If you have like one or two more, we can take it 301-230-0980. If not, tweet me your stories of what happened when you walked out of a job and why you walked out of a job. I asked for it. I got it. We got the breakdown of why Jayden Daniels has the Madden ranking that he does. I will share that with you when we get back. It is the Kevin Sheehan Show. Denton Day sitting in for Kevin here on the Team 980.
All right, here's what is happening on this Thursday, July 31st. Gilbert Arenas was arrested in connection with an illegal high-stakes poker game that were being hosted at a mansion rented by the Wizards legend. Arenas was booked along with 4 others, including Marcus Morris and suspected members of the Israeli mob. Arenas posted the video to social media last night, captioned, "I'm back on the streets. This ain't got blank to do with me. Just rented the house. Wasn't a part." End quote. Plus, one of the most coveted bats in baseball right now is on the move as Eugenio Suarez was traded to the Mariners late last night. This marks the second deal between the Mariners and Diamondbacks after Arizona shipped first baseman Josh Naylor up to Seattle less than 1 week ago. To the NFL, Noah Fant signs with the Bengals. He joins the tight end room with Mike Gesicki and Tanner Hudson in an already pretty loaded Bengals offense. Michael Phelps is teaching the Ravens how to swim after cornerback Marlon Humphrey posted a video to social media asking Phelps for his help. It was reported that 1 in 3 Ravens players cannot swim. Phelps responded, quote, "I got y'all," end quote. And the Nats, they fall to the Astros by a score of 9-1. Mackenzie Gore falls to 4-11 after giving up 8 hits and 6 earned runs in just 5.1 innings pitched. Nats have a day off today to travel home, and they will kick off their series against the Milwaukee Brewers tomorrow from Nats Park. This update is sponsored by the Team 980 YouTube page. Just open the app, type in the Team 980, hit subscribe. Kevin Sheehan is live from 10 to 1 and Craig Hoffman from 4 to 7. Don't forget to like the stream and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all things DC sports. And that is what's trending.
We're going to break down Jayden Daniels' Madden ratings in a matter of moments, but breaking news from ESPN's Jeff Passan. It is the Major League Baseball trade deadline day, and the Detroit Tigers finalizing a deal to acquire closer Kyle Finnegan from the Nationals. I thought Finnegan's value was higher. A couple years ago, they decided to keep him. They now are shipping him to Detroit. They had shipped Mike Soroka to Chicago late last night. And as we sit here a number of hours before the deadline actually hits, all of the eyes kind of shift a little bit to one Mackenzie Gore. This has been a huge day across Major League Baseball with relievers and bullpen arms getting traded, which generally speaking on deadline day, I feel like that is a majority of what you see. You'll see some big bats moved every year, but a lot of it is relief help, teams that feel like they are in contention, bolstering up a bullpen, right? And you can look at deep dive into numbers and analytics with baseball, but there are teams that are just going to look at some things and say, yeah, he'd probably be better in our system. I don't care what's going on over there. We like what we see with some of the numbers, and we think that what we have going on here is going to be better than what he has going on wherever he is. The Tigers pitching staff is already pretty decent, especially the starting pitchers in Detroit, but certainly adding some bullpen help is going to be nice. I'm working, and hopefully we get this before the show ends, to get what Washington got in return for Finnegan. So in the event, Max, where you see this before I do, just jump on here and let me know. But in Jeff Passan's original tweet, it doesn't say what Washington got in return for Kyle Finnegan. So hopefully, even Grant Paulson, he just tweeted out, and there's nothing about the return. So hopefully we will get that by the end of the show. We still got about 15 minutes or so. So that should be coming our way. But that is the second big trade. They did make a trade with the Los Angeles Angels yesterday as well, but there was not a lot of notable moves in that one. It's just getting more players that you will have under your control for years to come, which is really, if you're Washington, that's what you're aiming to do here. You want players that you will be able to have control over contract-wise for a number of years, and then develop them better than they have been developed in years past. Rizzo he was always so great at the trades. The developing element of the trades is where things usually fell flat. So if you're getting prospects from other farm systems and you think you can now develop them better, then a lot of these trades are going to make sense. That is why, if you are curious as to why Mackenzie Gore's name has been thrown around much more frequently than I think many people would have anticipated during this deadline day, is because Washington realizes they don't have a lot of control left on the contract of Mackenzie Gore before they are going to have to shell out a ton of money. And there needs to be an element of realism. All right, can we shell out the amount of money that he is going to need? And he has played largely like an ace. He's had some bad games, as most pitchers do, throughout the course of a long Major League Baseball season. But, however, he has been really good. Strikeout king, you might say. Are you going to want to pay him, and will you be relevant enough to justify the money that you will pay him or need to pay him to keep him by the time that comes, or do you want to see what you can get from him? Andrew Golden tweeting out, the Nationals are getting back Josh Randall and RJ Sales. Both of them are pitchers. Randall was a 2024 third-round pick who made 17 starts for the Tigers' High A affiliate. He had a 3.92 ERA with a 1.32 whip. Sales, a 2024 10th-round pick, made 16 appearances and 15 starts for the Tigers in their Low A affiliate. He had a 2.71 ERA with a 1.12 whip. So those are the two pitchers that Washington is getting in return for sending Kyle Finnegan to the Detroit Tigers. Any more information, any other trade that breaks between now and the end of the show, we will be sure to give you that. And then we just, as I mentioned, we are keeping our eyes on Mackenzie Gore. Just saying, hey, what do you got? DeBartolo, what are you going to do? Mackenzie Gore. That'd be a massive if they can flip Mackenzie Gore and get something of like real substance in terms of like a high level prospect back in return, which they should be able to, because you're only flipping Mackenzie Gore to a team that is in desperate need of starting pitching. Chicago was a team that was in need of starting pitching, but then you trade Soroka. Not to say that you can't then trade Mackenzie Gore to Chicago, but you would think if the Cubs really wanted Mackenzie Gore, they would have fought tooth and nail to get that deal done first, and then maybe you went with Soroka. But who knows? We got a few hours before any of that is going to really become something of substance and something of note. You know, we could see it happen a buzzer beater before the deadline. All right, so Max sent me this on Twitter, and if you're not following me on Twitter at the Denton Day, it's Kevin Sheehan Show. Denton Day sitting in for Kevin Sheehan. Jayden Daniels' Madden rating was unveiled. It is an 85 overall. It is 10th among quarterbacks. It's far too low. It is lower than Baker Mayfield. It is lower than Jared Goff, Herbert, Hurts, guys that Jayden is better than. Washington tweeted out a graphic, the Commanders' official Twitter account. They tweeted out a graphic. And this gives a much deeper explanation as to why Jayden Daniels was ranked 85. Here's the problem. The math ain't mathin'. So Jayden is ranked 85, and this graphic says his speed is a 90, which I would push back on. Probably a little bit better than a 90, but whatever. His acceleration is 91. His agility is 91. His throwing power is 91, or 92 rather. His stamina is 91. His toughness is 93. I'm assuming ACC is acceleration and not accuracy. I would assume that. Regardless, either his acceleration or his accuracy is 91.
It's acceleration because they have accuracy. They have it broken down by short yardage, short accuracy, medium accuracy, deep accuracy.
Okay, so there's new things here. And I would, because it's sandwiched between two other speed-related ratings, I would assume
I think you're
that
right.
the ACC is acceleration. Those are 6 very important numbers, where if you're grading this on a scale, those are 6 very important numbers. You will notice all of them are in the 90s. And if you take out a calculator on the old cell phone device and you type in all those numbers, and then you divide by 6.
Because there are 6 numbers.
Because there are 6 numbers. You know what you do not get, Max?
You don't get 85, I don't think.
You do not get 85. You get a number that is greater than 85, but you do not get 85.
Closer to 91 than 85?
You get 91.3.
Oh, look at that.
So now I'm curious, what tanked his rating? Because if you have 6 really important statistics, and they're all above 90, and you add them together and divide them, and you get 91.3, how is he an 85? What in the game of Jayden Daniels was ranked low enough to tank that rating all the way down to 85? Because it would have to be something like substantially low. The only way that you are getting a 91 to an 85 is having something at like the 80 that's really, really important and carries a lot of weight. I don't know what the formula that they use is. I think if I started breaking down Madden rating formulas, I've probably gone a little bit too far. Like that's too deep into the weeds.
You never know. I mean, I see guys with the EA Sports Madden rating shirts all out at training camps every now and again. Who knows? You might run into one. Might be able to talk his ear off.
Oh, like the affiliates from Madden.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about fans. I was like, who is that deep into it?
No, they have like they have the big EA Sports logo and on the back of their shirt, and it says like Madden ratings person or something like that. I've seen the shirt.
I might have to have a conversation if I can see one of them on Saturday.
Might be worth looking.
Yeah, I just want to have a conversation.
A polite conversation.
A polite talk. And so I'm looking at some of the other Madden ratings because I did release some other ones. They released top 10s of everyone, but I can't look a lot deeper than top 10s. There are not a lot of Commanders on the top 10. Terry is a top 10 wide receiver at 94. Bobby Wagner is a top 10 linebacker at 91. I do not see Frankie Louvu on the linebackers.
So I have the rookies Madden ratings. Trey Amos, 75. Josh Connerly, 74. Jalen Lane, 72. Bill Merritt, 67. Kane Medrano, 66.
I think those are all fair, considering none of them
For
have played
rookies,
a game
yeah.
before. Yeah, none of them have played a game before. But for Luvu, who is an all-pro, to not be on the linebacker list is confusing because he is listed, I believe, as a linebacker. At least when the all-pro discussions were happening, he was listed as a linebacker. And Bobby Wagner is 3 on this list. They were kind of finicky with some of these ratings. Wagner was 3 on this list at 91. Devin Lloyd is 10 on this list. I bring him up because he's 85. Luvu was an all-pro last year. How does an all-pro not break 85? Unless they list him as an edge, which, again, I don't think they will or they should because he's not an edge. He's a linebacker that can blitz, but he's not an edge. He did not make the top 10 of edge rushers, nor would he. I mean, there's some dogs on the edge rushing position. Like you talk quarterbacks, edge rushers, maybe running backs, and wide receivers. Those are some tough positions to grade out. No commander made the edge rushers. You get Myles Garrett, who's like a 99, Parsons, who's a 98, Watt and Crosby are 96s. I would put Watt ahead of Max Crosby, but whatever. Bosa's a 95, Hutchison's a 93. At one point, future commander, who is now definitely not a future commander, Trey Hendrickson, is 92. Daniel Hunter, 91. Josh Hines-Allen, 90. Will Anderson Jr., 89. I don't think that Louisville would be in that conversation, but I feel like as a linebacker, if they're going to grade him as a linebacker or rank him as a linebacker, he should be higher than that. But what do I know? They didn't ask me. We got football tonight. We got the Hall of Fame game tonight. Clap it up.
We made it.
We got
survived.
some football.
We lived. We made it through an off season. We're back.
If you want to make money, you got to gamble on the preseason.
It's time.
It is time to gamble on the preseason. I do not fully lean into the preseason is the best time to gamble, Max. I'm not of that ilk.
No, it's one of the worst, but
well, so it's
one of the
funny.
soonest.
Statistically, if you're smart about it, you can actually make way more money. But I'm not just a pure numbers guy gambling. Like
I'm not a smart gambler.
I'm a
That's
gut
kind of the
feel.
whole- yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'm a vibes guy.
Vibes, heavy vibes guy. The vibes for the preseason, little wonky. But for the Hall of Fame game, you got to be hitting the under. You got to be hitting the under. Now, this number has moved a little bit. It was 32.5 yesterday when we started talking about this.
Jumped up.
It is now 33.5. And the line has adjusted. It is now Lions laying 2.5 instead of the 1.5. I believe that's because the Chargers are going to play a heavy rotation of Trey Lance and DJU. The once Clemson quarterback turned Oregon State quarterback, turned Florida State quarterback. He is in the NFL.
Shockingly.
This is going to be a turnover machine, it feels like, for the Los Angeles Chargers.
It's going to be.
Now, those two guys are playing for jobs, so there's going to be an added emphasis on what they're doing, a little pep in their step, if you will.
Is there an interception over under?
I don't know if you can bet props like that in the preseason.
I don't think you can, but it's worth looking.
You might be able to as we get closer to kickoff tonight. Sometimes they're a little finicky with props. I would not encourage you to bet preseason props, though. That is where you should probably draw the line. If you're looking for some preseason props, just hold that money until the regular season. But I am still taking the under at 33.5. The last 4 Hall of Fame games have gone under the 33.5 number. So I think it's going to be a very low scoring affair. And because I don't really trust Trey Lance that much, and if DJU gets significant time, I certainly do not trust. I don't trust DJU either.
Not even
so
close.
I think you're going to see a lot of what could be hilarious internet football, but it will not be a ton of good quality football. So I'm taking the under tonight in the Lions and Chargers Hall of Fame game, 33.5. I'm excited for some of the Hall of Fame speeches. My favorite elements of the Hall of Fame are when it's people that I know.
Of course.
Not, I have a decent enough feel for the history of the NFL. I know players that are in the Hall of Fame, but it's a lot easier for me to watch speeches when it's guys that I grew up watching. And Antonio Gates is going in. I can't wait.
This can be great.
I loved Antonio Gates. One of my favorites. That's it for us today. We got Logan Paulson tomorrow, Ben Standig tomorrow, Chris Russell show up next. No Chris Russell, Linnell Willingham. He just walked in the studio. He got some Bonchon. Smells really good. He takes the microphone when we get back. It's the Kevin Sheehan Show with Dente sitting in for Kevin on the T980.